Welcome all to A Brief History of Conspiracy. Get everybody in.
Can you hear? Ah, there we go.
Hello.
I can, sir.
Hi, guys. Hey, Dave.
Hello there.
Hi there.
Evening
Damian.
all. I forgot I had to do that bit and invite you all in. I'll turn you all down. You're really loud. Wow, that's loud. Okay. Hi, guys. Welcome to A Brief History of Mystery. Thank you all for joining us. Dave, Steve, Strange Times, please sub. You cheeky git. I didn't have to remember your name. God bless you. I'm going to take my glasses off because you can see the lights in my glasses. It's really annoying. Right, so this evening, as it's April Fool's Day, we thought we would get together and have a bit of chat about this being June 1st, 180 days deadline for this report that's supposed to be coming out from the Pentagon and the intelligence community. This this little law that was slipped into the COVID relief fund, this $2.3 trillion COVID relief fund, and the odd way that American governments works, that somebody does a law and somebody else goes, yes, I'll go back that law as long as you do this completely irrelevant and completely separate thing and you just attach it to it. So Senator Rubio threw in this law that the Pentagon basically has to do a report by June 1st that talks about all the classified material that the Pentagon and CIA and everybody else has on the UFOs. They also have to talk about the conclusions, which I think is really interesting, that they have made. And it's all to do with their funding, if they want to continue to get their lovely funding. Because you all know the DOD and everything, they love their funding. So, first of all, what do you guys think about this report? And good evening and welcome, by the way.
Hi, guys in chat.
Yeah. Roll call. I'm from the UK, Adu Mole. Yes, you are from the UK. Well done. We're all
from the UK.
Yeah, British. Talking about Americans again. That's all we ever do.
We love the Americans.
Yeah, of course we do. Oh, no, we started this last time we had a conversation and we ended up insulting 3/4 of our...
That's all I ever do, constantly.
Yeah. It's they love us. You gotta mock the cousins, haven't you? Trev, how are you, mate? Good evening. Right, so Damian, why don't you throw on that first question that we were going to have for the evening?
Well, the first question, what the US government, the largest spy network ever, in the history, no recorded history. We've got 8 billion people now with smartphones. Do you think we really need government endorsed disclosure, or do you think it's going to come from us now anyway, really, through the proof that's captured?
That's one of the comments I get a lot when I'm, talk about disclosure and stuff, and people always go, "We've already had it. We've already had it. Why are you going on about it? We've got it. We know it's happening. Why do we care what the government say?" What do you think?
I think the population now, probably more than 50% of the population in the UK and probably in America as well, believe in their government's lied to them about UFOs and they know a lot more. So I think the tide is turning.
Definitely. How about you, Dave? What do you think?
I think absolutely. I don't think it's news to anybody, not just up here on the panel, but anybody who's watching that. There has been little bits and tidbits of information that have been coming out, not just from world governments that are sort of vying to be the ones, but a little bit reticent to do so, but also in media, also portrayals in media to sort of enlighten the public and enlighten the masses. And people are just more open-minded, I think, nowadays, and susceptible to wanting to take that information on board. And as Damian said, as far as the spy networks go, we've all got mobile phones. We've all got the ability to gather information. We've all got the ability to carry a camera, take a snapshot, and be able to make up our own minds. And of course, social media allows us to communicate in a way that's probably larger than the spy network in many senses, and we're ostensibly a part of that. I feel we're a part of that information, but ultimately, on the flip side of the coin, we're also a spread of disinformation too, depending upon belief system and interest.
Yeah,
the disinformation and the confusion is a major weapon, isn't it, against us? I think. So, what do you think, Steve?
It is exactly the same as the other two lads. That's it, isn't it? It's You know, I mean, you could argue that we have the disclosure with the Tic Tac footage released by the Pentagon. You know, it's have we had it? Are we going to get it? Personally, I don't think it's going to be frontline news. You know, UFOs, aliens exist, they're here, or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen. If people are expecting that, I don't think that's going to happen at all. Like Dave was saying a minute ago, slowly feeding it into the media, into the mainstream, which they've been doing for decades anyway.
Yeah.
And then you have got all the misinformation and false news and things like that, which absolutely has a 99% impact on everything that we're trying to do, and all the real sort of, you know, footage and everything like that. It's a tricky one for sure. It really is.
I think the thing with the American government, I mean, they do have the most advanced spy network the world has ever seen. You know, I mean, can you just imagine the sort of things they might know that? I mean, this guy, the John Ratcliffe, was on the news on Fox News, and that's the thing. This is on mainstream news. This guy was talking about satellite images and things.
Yeah.
Dave,
Former director of intelligence, was he? Former
Yeah.
director of national intelligence, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is under the Trump administration. Oh, no, don't start that.
Let's not go there.
Immediately. No, listen. I was going to immediately mock and call that an oxymoron. But yeah, I mean, this guy had access to how much information? You know, he had access to almost everything that at least the military were willing to share with a temporary employee, and that's the president.
Look at the Canadian.
Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, mate. The Canadian Defence Minister. You know, when he come out, I can't remember what year it was now. It's his Congress meeting thing, and spoke openly for near on sort of 40 minutes about all the different races of aliens and the UFOs that are coming here, and you know, Canadian government working within the UFO sort of sector, you know, trying to work out what these things are, you know, trying to communicate with them and things like that. Ronald Reagan, you got so many people. Churchill, for instance, you know, just before the war, I think it was, Churchill was going to spend most of, well, not most, but a lot of the UK's money on opening up some sort of, I think it was a book, writing a book or something on UFOs, and what they could possibly be as well. Yes, certainly did, Mo. He did a few weeks about that.
Yeah,
but again, that was to promote his book though as well, wasn't it? So
yeah, it wasn't actually the defense minister, though, was he? He was the head of the aerospace industry, which that was a shock to me. Israel's got an aerospace industry. Do you know their main area of business, though, the Israeli aerospace industry, is launching spy satellites for the Americans. And that was their main thing that they did. So I think, once again, Israel doing the dirty work, I think, a little bit.
Israel are quite interesting, haven't they? They've got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies. Let's put it that way.
They don't go around, do they?
Without saying too much about them.
I do think I don't think we need the Americans to get disclosure, but I do think that the stuff that they might know might just sort of underline and confirm the few things that we think we know, but we don't necessarily know. Like we look at the Tic Tac video. We have no idea what it is. Well, that's the question, isn't it? That's the question, isn't it? What do we know for fact? That's actually
again, when you're getting into interdepartmental communication or so-called communication about alleged reports and that, you have to wonder how much of it is redacted information that they do receive interdepartmentally due to different security clearances. I mean, we've all heard about the over, ultra, and ultra umbra security clearances that people have talked about within being involved in UFO back engineering.
Cosmic, isn't it? The top one, I think they all speak of. Cosmic clearance.
And if you're not part of it, if you're not in the know, you're never going to know. And if you don't need to know, you'll not know. And that's a theory thing that I think they're all going off. And I think if the US aren't involved in any kind of sort of globalized disclosure, there won't be one. There just
No.
won't be one because of their stance in the international arena, at least at present. Anyway, at least at present, you know, I think we all know things are changing regarding world powers and economic shifts and so on and such. But I think if the US aren't involved in it, then it won't be coming anytime soon. I sincerely believe that.
And you could argue that Russia kind of released all their, or they say they released a lot of information a few years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, and nobody really cared. Yeah. Everyone just assumed, or whatever. I don't completely agree with you. If the Americans seem to lead the race, they seem to dominate the story completely, really.
There almost seems to be that dominance from America, doesn't there, in the whole sphere of UFOs, where there's almost an international alignment of other countries behind America, behind the cosmic level clearance, and everybody just toes the line. And they seem to be heavily involved in a lot more recoveries, don't they, of UFOs than just in the United States of America. They go all over the world doing it.
Well, why do you think that would be, though? Why are they the only ones that seem to why are they in the driving seat? Why does even China and Russia seem to toe the line?
Because they got the biggest guns, I guess. Is
that or conversely,
maybe.
Have they been involved at a more grassroots level with interaction with, you know, either, you know, I know again this is supposition, but with EBEs and things coming into the atmosphere that are beyond our control? Are they more involved at a grassroots level? Are they the first point of communication and or intelligence or liaison between all the world's governments? You know, I mean, there's a lot of people who also think that. So is it because of that? Is it because they hold the most intelligence regarding back engineering? Is it because, like, you know, Damian says they've got the biggest intelligence networks, so they're privy to this information? I mean, it's all open to conjecture. Is it because of, like you say, the DOD, which isn't, you know, it's not a Department of Defense, it's dollars on demand, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. We did a video a couple of weeks ago, talking about the dollar and how it's used to influence the world's governments, and how like 60% of the world's cash is held in the US dollar. That really allows the Americans to hold the world by the balls. There's a reason why China owns trillions of dollars of US debt, and they're never going to call that debt in, because America really controls the value of its own debt, which is, you know, insane in lots of ways. But I do wonder if that might be one of the big reasons why America does dictate these things, because of the US dollar and its influence in the world, you know. Moonbear's on. How do Moonbear? How are you, sir?
Hey, Moonbear.
Like we said the other day, that's why they've got the biggest army.
Moonbear's awesome.
When the dollar collapses.
We'll get onto the world's biggest army in a bit, because I think that's where we're going to end up talking about and where we think disclosure might lead. But one of the things, so on this June 1st deadline, what do you actually think? First of all, realistically, and then optimistically, what do you think we might actually get to see on June 1st? Damian, do you want to?
Realistically and optimistically, okay. Realistically, probably not very much interesting that's new. Maybe the odd bit of unredacted information that, you know, tells us a bit more, but probably a lot of redacted information still, I would imagine. A bit more drip feeding. Optimistically, they'll release everything, but no. That's not going to happen.
I said optimistically, not like.
All right, optimistically.
I didn't say
pessimistically.
Optimistically, five unredacted stories of with proof. I suppose that would be nice.
Just any proof of something. Go on then, Dave. What do you think? Realistically, what do you think we'll get?
Realistically, 60 to 80,000 pages of Xeroxed out information. That doesn't make any sense. As well as, I have to agree with Damian, a lot of stuff we already know or can imagine. Think, you know, the usual kind of, you know, the type of stuff that they say. You know, they're more concerned about it being secret weapons and aircraft from other nations rather than it being about beings from outer space kind of thing, which is a lot of what a lot of people are after, you know. You know, stories about it being tracked by radars and automated sensors and so on and so forth, as well as eyewitnesses. You you know, the usual tales of things making drastic turns and, you know, velocity changes and, you know, speeds that don't result in sonic booms or things like that, and that we can all go, oh, stuff we already knew then. All you've done isn't it? It's like, so
it's going round in circles, isn't it? It's all,
you've sort of partially admitted there's a little bit of something going on, but I totally agree with Damian. I think he's hit the nail on the head with it. Nothing, just a load of blanked out Xerox pages with a lot of redacted information, where they sort of tantalize us by using terminology such as, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and all you've got to do is look at the Roswell, the whole truth, the United States Air Force report on Roswell years ago, when they said case closed. It's like, this is case closed, this is done with. What it was a polyanthropomorphic test dummy, you know, and a Rowan Sonde reflective radar balloon, and it's like, come on, hundreds of pages of stuff we already knew to ultimately lead to a conclusion you told us about, you know, 30 years ago when it come to the public eye with Randalls and Schmidt. You know, nothing new. I don't think, personally, nothing new.
I'm thinking about Roswell. I like how it's this. Okay, it was aliens. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't aliens. It was a weather balloon. No, wait, it was a weather balloon, but it was a secret special weather balloon. Oh no, it wasn't a weather balloon. Honestly, this time we're telling the truth. Honestly, this time it was a weather balloon with a special dummy on it.
Yeah.
It's just, and I feel almost that's what we're getting again.
I think that the Roswell incident kind of just represents the real awe that the military officer that was in command at the Roswell base had when they'd recovered the crashed vehicle and just wanted to share the news with the world, and then the military then made him cover it all up the next day. It blatantly is that. I don't know how anybody could ever think it isn't that.
We're being lied to 100%.
Yeah, I think it's great that they explained away the fact that beings had been seen at the hospital, you know, by different witnesses, and explained it away as the gondola of the test balloon that this black pilot was going to jump out of to test parachutes that they were going to use in ejection seats and stuff like that. The gondola, the big basket that he was in, when it landed, it tipped over and squashed his head against the floor, causing him to have a frontal lobal hematoma. You know what I mean? So his head swelled and he had big black eyes. So he ultimately ended up looking like a grey, conveniently, you know. And that's what people were seeing walking through the corridors of the hospital. I don't think it was Chuck Yeager. I forget the
massive head. So we should probably not let him walk around. Big bald. No. Go on then, Steve. What do you think? What do you think realistically we're going to see?
Exactly the same as again the two lads have just said in, you know, previous years before. You know, unless something amazing happens and they pull their fingers out of their asses, you know, and actually release something useful and you know, something that we can work with, then it's just going to be pointless, isn't it? You know, just random circles.
I mean, it's, you know, it's 2021.
Optimistically, aliens are here.
The sun's coming out.
They're coming down, but it's not going to happen.
I do have to point out, to be fair to Jade, he did say right at the beginning, optimistically, and not one of us have gone down that route yet. You know,
no, we've all gone exactly the same way. I think. I'm actually genuinely, realistically, I think we might not even get to see anything because there's no guarantee we're going to get to see this report. You know, everyone keeps going to say, "Oh, this report June 1st, and we're going to learn this, and we're going to learn that." No, this is a report to that intelligence committee. The intelligence committee might just go, "Thank you," and then we'll be going, "Can we have a look?" And they're like, "No."
Yeah, it'd be like the 9/11 Commission report for as few eyes as possible. If there's any unredacted information in there, there'll be 8 people that can read it.
You get me started on that.
Yeah, I think optimistically we'll get to see some documents that say there was this amazing event on Big Thick Black Line. We've proved that Big Thick Black Line, and Big Thick Black Line shat himself. So I think that'll be the best that we get, and then it'll say UFO at the end. And I mean,
shares in Xerox will go through the roof. Yeah,
exactly. I genuinely think that's probably the best. But I do think though that the public opinion and public demand to know what's going on now is growing. It is becoming mainstream. We've had guys on Fox News. This has been all over the New York Times. How many times in the last 12 months? since the Tic Tac video.
Yeah, but
I
the problem
do
is in
think-
America is that the president's a temporary employee. So they never they never brief him in. So any president, there's so many presidents that have said they're going to find out what's going on, and then they realise they hit a brick wall and just go, oh.
Yeah, they're not important enough, are they?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
that's
not
the thing,
allowed to know.
Yeah,
go
I
to
mean,
Area 51?
Carter actually had a sighting himself, didn't he? He had an experience, and he
did.
was very vocal about wanting to find, the truth about it. Very open about wanting to it, and he just splattered into the same concrete wall that everybody else does when they try and find out information. It's like, look, you're a temporary employee, and you only need to know what you need to know, and you don't need to know this, and that's it. It's done with.
Yeah.
Clinton was the same. He wanted to know. He said he was he wanted to see what was going on in Area 51. Even Obama was on that interview with was it Colbert, and he's asked about it, and he just sort of smiled and went, "I can't tell you." And he went, "No, go on." And he went, "No, seriously, I can't tell you."
Can't tell because I don't know. That's it, isn't it?
I think that's what it is.
He said, "I don't know."
Just
but did he? Mole is just asking us if any of us have actually witnessed anything.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
why we're all here, isn't it?
I've never witnessed a UFO, but I did see something weird on a flight once that I don't know what it was.
I was
flying from thinking, I was just looking out the window, and I discussed it with Damian at the time and said, I can't bring it up on the channel. It looks like we've just started doing a conspiracy channel where I talk about UFOs all the time, and then I see a UFO. People are going to go, yeah, all right, mate. But
well, yeah.
I was looking at I was looking at the plane, and I could see a white dot, and it was hovering around the ground. And then I could see where the road was, and it was going over the fields, and it was going all over the place. And then it accelerated and seemed to overtake the plane.
Wow.
So first of all, I thought I was looking at a helicopter with the full beam on, but I don't know why it would have the full beam on.
Is this nighttime then?
It was at night, yeah. It was pitch black.
Yeah.
And then maybe the plane slowed down, and that's why it looked like it overtook us. But it looked like
it wouldn't have slowed down.
What plane were you in?
Coming into a landing. I don't know what plane we were. We were on
a
you're in a
passenger.
800.
Yeah, right. You're in a passenger liner that's probably been travelling at altitude at 400 plus miles an hour, 450 maybe, and then you're descending. So you might be decelerate. You might be doing 300, 350. I don't know. You're going to be decelerating, aren't you?
Like
a helicopter, fastest helicopter in the world does 120 miles an hour flat out.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, usually,
It's just
it's
not possible.
About 140, I think. Yeah.
Well, the excuse they give a lot of it is parallax, isn't it? And that's like, extreme speeds of like aircraft, like they put it down to being an optical illusion, isn't it? Which is like an object that's close to where you're seeing it, or to a camera lens. It just appears to be moving, like even rapidly, just because it's closer to the where you are than the background. So you get like parallax error, just like you do in photography, and that the human eye can also have that. It's also autokinesis, where your eye will struggle to focus on things in bad light. And I've heard them all. I've heard all the explanations as to why people can see things. And I've seen things, and I know that all these explanations that people try to debunk it with don't wash. They don't carry, And I mean, I've multiple times I've seen things that have just been so difficult to explain and almost outlandish even to me, that when I say the words, I almost don't believe myself, if that makes any sense,
Yeah. I think something so extreme needs extreme evidence, doesn't? That's the problem. And
unfortunately,
I've
video
never
evidence can go on.
I've never asked you if you ever actually seen anything while not under the influence of anything.
Well,
what I mean.
Good point. I have had one sighting before, just randomly, where I remember being not too old, probably late teens, and I just remember waking up in the middle of the night and for some reason looking out of the curtain. I don't know why I woke up, but something woke me up. I looked outside and I saw a light in the sky, not too close, not too far away, and then it did some unusual things in the sky in terms of movement in like a square shape, and I was just fascinated while it was there for 5 minutes, and then it disappeared. I don't know, late teens, I think, probably 16, 17, I think at the time, maybe.
Cool. So that, definite sighting.
And I woke up with the intent to look out the window to see it. That was the first thing I did as I woke up was.
Yeah,
and I don't know. It just baffled me that I knew that something was there, and to look at that exact moment.
They talk about a lot of that with CE5, don't they? Is if you get that intent to go with it. Go on then, Dave, because I don't know you very well, Dave, but I get the hint from chatting that you've got some brilliant stories. So let's just sit back. Go, Dave. First
I suppose the first one. The first one was when I was about 9 years old on a golf course near where I lived. I was with some friends. A lot of experience on this golf course. You should have learned to stay away from it. But I think it's just because it was out of the way, and light pollution wasn't as bad as it is when you're obviously in an urban area.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we were playing football, jumpers for goalposts kind of thing,
Yeah, on a golf
and just
course,
became
an animal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we raked the sand back after we finished.
Good.
If that makes you feel any better.
Good.
And just became aware of a really intense white light that seemed to be above us, which was only fleeting, but it seemed to like wash over us and go over us really quick. Not like a searchlight, more like a flood, but sort of illuminated all the area too. And we sort of ignored it, carried on doing what we were doing, and just decided to try to make our way back home through a wooded area. And then right through the wooded area, up towards the houses, we thought it was a car headlight, what looked like a car headlight shining through the trees. And we thought that was strange because of where the road was in proximity to where we were. And that would mean that the car would have to be on the fairway of the golf course right at the edge of this woodland. And then it changed to a blue. And then it changed to a red. And then it changed back to a white and started to rise up. And, we sort of all as one knew that wasn't a car unless it was a floating, levitating, chitty, chitty, bang, bang, up-to-date, like model, prototype kind of thing.
Right.
And we walked to the edge of the wood with quite a bit of trepidation, it has to be said. And there was it was like a humming sound, because the light had then was again like above us, and it just looked like a globe. That would probably try to describe as being the size of maybe a small car, like maybe a Mini or something like that. And it was sort of like looked a bit like a pearl.
All right, okay.
A bit like a pearl, and it seemed to pulse this white sort of light inside it that sort of lit up everything around it. And it was like a weird kind of hum, like bees, but not like. It feels weird saying it, but like bees, but not like bees. And then it just sort of disappeared. It sort of like disappeared in on itself. Everything sort of went dark quite fast, and it was just gone. It's really strange to explain how it went away, and it seemed like the light that it gave off sort of still continued to light up the ground, even though it had disappeared inside its own darkness. It's very strange. Strange.
I mean, that's quite descriptive. You say that the light seemed to not go, but even though it had, because that sounds I kind of understand what you mean without understanding it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But was it more of a feeling, do you think, rather than a visual thing? Like.
Now that you've just said that, maybe now that I'd never actually thought of that. If I'm completely open about it, maybe it was very strange. The following day, we sort of felt a little bit. I tried telling my brothers and sisters, and that they weren't wearing it. And the following day, I kind of felt a bit like it. Wondered whether I'd imagined it, and it shut it off. And it was a long time before I told anybody else.
Yeah. So when was the first time you got probed?
This is luckily I was legal age, thankfully.
The answer could have been so bad, Could have been, wow. You're opening a can of emotional worms there.
I haven't finished the story yet.
I was open for a probing, but all my hopes were dashed.
They don't. No, they never do they? There's a. How about you, Steve? What was the? Because I know you've had a few sightings yourself, but what was the one that sort of stands out to you as the one that maybe convinced you there was something else?
What me and Dave were talking about on his channel the other night.
Go on and tell us.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit, Steve. Plug my channel.
Yes, please. If you are actually on watching and you are new, please subscribe to this channel first. And then go to Stranger Times, and then go to Dorias Lives, please. First,
Darius is absolutely amazing. His channel is fantastic.
Stranger Times is crap. So we're all.
I must admit, I do have less subscribers than both of you, so I do
go
need
as long as me, mate.
You guys.
I've been going a lot longer than you, so shut up.
I know. Bless you. Oh no. For me, it all started as a sort of probably I don't know. I think the first time I saw something, I was about 9 or 10. That was a weird experience in my bedroom that we've discussed before. That popped up on the bed. I had some weird
experiences in my bedroom when I was 9 or 10 years old.
And shot off. Indeed. And
told you need to stop going to Sunday school. Sorry,
that opens up a kind of emotional worms. I was brought up Catholic.
Oh, no.
Bless you. Toothache is fantastic, Amy. Thank you. Yeah,
she's sweet.
It's all cleared up. It's still a bit tender, but yeah, I've still got to have them sorted. But all good.
If you saw our first live video, Steve was literally white as a ghost throughout it with toothache. It was very funny.
I was ill. I virtually passed out after. I know. But
sorry, I was interrupting you.
So, growing up as a kid with my mum's always been extremely susceptible to ghosts and spirits and things like that. So I had sort of early ghost sighting, paranormal sightings as a kid. But my first UFO sighting, I was probably about 14, 15, and it was a huge blue about 8 circular lights in the sky, all going round one way, and then a light within around the circular lights going another way, and it was absolutely huge, as big as like the football field where we were. Ran back home, phoned the police. The police said that they'd had similar phone calls. That was it. Didn't hear anything else about it. But I've seen proper odd things in the sky. Just, standing outside having a cigarette, looking up. I've seen bizarre flashes. I've seen extremely bizarre, brilliant blue, like this blue on the StreamYard that we can see. The guys can't see it on the chat, but we can see it like that. About 11 o'clock at night, in space, looked about yay big, just flashed proper circle blue for about 3 seconds, and then 2 circle really small blues either side of that afterwards. Seeing flipping orbs, weird boomerang, basically like 4 boomerangs in the sky, white in colour, like a misty white, transparent, just gliding through the sky. I wasn't the only one to see it either. Loads of people in the town where I was saw it, because it was all over Facebook and social media. And I've, as I was saying on Dave's channel a couple of nights ago, I won't sort of go into too much detail, but it was like sleep paralysis type thing that happened to me. And I got such an impression that there were beings outside the house where I was. And it was my dad's house, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And that was an extremely bizarre situation to be in. But that was about 2 weeks before I joined the army, and then it happened again about 6 weeks into basic training. But I was on my own in a different block. So
if we get back to disclosure a little bit, because one of the things I was going to talk about.
That.
Talk about, I think, that disclosure thing. Our point of being here. I worry that a lot of what we're seeing is just a tactic. It's just a game that the government play, because there's a reason why psychology is one of the best funded sciences on the planet. You know, they spend more money on psychology than they spend on microbiology, which we could do with at the moment. You know, there's a reason why governments love this thing. Is this all just one big tactic? And what sort of tactics do they use against us anyway? Anybody want to jump in? Go on, Dave.
Yeah. I think if they do, I think if they do disclose anything to us in a rather sort of dramatic or a large volume of information dump, then there's going to be some kind of agenda behind dumping that volume of information on us. Werner von Braun warned us, didn't he, famously, about the sequence of enemies that they were going to use to justify the continuation of the production of ammunition and weapons, and the continuation of various wars around the world. So I think it'd be something like that it would be leading towards forcing us into a one world government. They'd release that they've got the technologies out there, aliens are capable of visiting us. They won't admit they've got the tech yet and all the reverse engineering, so they can do the fake alien invasion maybe, and then get us all under one world government. That's something I could see that is a plausible
end game. That's the end game
for the rich. Yeah.
What tactics are they using at the moment, though? I mean, you talk about the end game, which we can talk about in a bit. But
okay,
because I worry, right, that at the end of the day, if they keep enough of the population thinking that the whole UFO phenomenon thing is silly, then they win. And I think that they use confusion and things to distract us, and to every time I do research something, I think, oh, I've got it. This is the evidence. This is it. And then I find out that it's nonsense. I'm like, back to square one again, you know. And I think they do that on purpose, and I think that's a tactic. And I worry that this might be another element of that. And I'm thinking about the Salvador Pay, what's the word, patents that came out a little while ago.
Yeah.
But what do you think? What do you think, Dave? Because I know you were desperate to jump in.
Yeah. Well, I'm a psychologist. It's what I studied. So this degree. Side of it, I was really
not a psychologist, but degree. Yeah, I worked in mental health most of my working career.
And that is that. Me too, sir. I'm a counsellor. Yeah. So I found that interesting. Small world, man.
Dabble.
And I always think there's we're as human beings, we're prone to associative thinking. So we're likely to associate certain actions that result in, lead up to certain consequences that we then react upon. And as people that study the UFO field, or as people that are interested in wanting disclosure, we're susceptible to this more than anybody else. So reading into actions, even globally, will also suit our subconscious narrative, which will also be dependent upon what an individual's belief system is in the first place anyway, like as Damian said, leading to an end game, which we'll cover later. But my fear is that we sort of, conversely, it's the other way around. It's not, they actually know less than they make out, and that is even more frightening than them being in control, is the fact that they're completely out of control. They don't understand completely what's going on. They are out of control of the airspace, and the only way to sort of maintain a sort of, like, if you like, they're bluffing to make people think that there's nothing going on when there clearly is. and they have no control over it. So they have to mix and match, or sort of pick and choose which bits of information they find relative or relevant, rather, to suit their narrative, to dumb down the populace as a whole without spreading any kind of panic, without having to openly say, look, you know what, this thing's going on we have no control over or no idea about, and quite frankly, we're just as concerned as you guys.
Yeah.
But we have no answers for you, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree.
I actually fear that's the
something.
reason. Yeah, I actually fear that's why we don't have disclosure. Is purely because we sometimes think that these aliens are here and they're like in charge and they're talking to our governments and I actually think they're probably here. Don't give a crap about our government. And watching us like we would a science experiment, and like we would watch. We go into Africa and watch the elephants. Yeah, like an ant colony.
Like an ant colony.
And they're not talked about. So our government has no contact with them, so they can never admit it, because the first question would be, well, are you in contact with them? No. Okay, can you stop them from coming and taking my child? No. Okay, then, so why am I paying my taxes? And
also, exactly, they've got to explain all the spending. Where's all the money going? If you're unable to defend us, why are we spending however many hundreds of billions on defence every year? Yeah. You can't defend us. You've just admitted that. It's not possible. You haven't got the technology to defend us from these superior alien races visiting us.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
Go on, mate.
You what? Sorry.
Stick your 2 cents in. What do you think?
Excuse me. Will we ever know? I have no idea. What does the government know? We have no idea. We know that they know more than us, obviously, but
I think.
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. Of course they do.
I think that if you think about like the Vatican vaults, that's the place I want to go. That's what I want to see. That's like 4,000 years worth of history.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would explain most of our religions. It would explain everything else. Never mind looking the secret vaults, whatever, or the information the US government has. I'd love to know what we knew 10,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago. And that's all in the Vatican vaults. And there's a reason why most of those vaults are secret, and they don't let us go and have a look.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen actually what it requires to get a book in the Vatican vault? You have to know what book you want by title. You can't just wander down and have a look. You can't just wander down and go, "Oh, that looks good." You have to go down and think. If you then read the book and you then have to ask permission, basically, you have to request it. If you then find another book that you like the look of, you then have to go back and request it again. And about 9 times out of 10, it's declined anyway. But if you don't know exactly what the book that you need is called, and there isn't a list, you can't go.
The Secrets of Life.
Yeah, there's this. Yeah, exactly. There's a book about the Anunnaki. Can I go have a look at that? Yeah. The Truth About the Sumerians. Can I have that book? No, you can't have that book. You know what I mean? So I do think that that's the book. That's where I would love to get into. The Vatican.
You see, that's the other the other issue about disclosure is I don't want to go too deeply into this lest I incur the wrath of anybody out there. But the theological implications of disclosure, because not every country is in the same mindset when it comes to a religious footing, and understanding and grasp and belief system, and that could cause a few ripples around the world due to various people's beliefs. And I think that has to be taken into account. There's just absolutes where that we are the only living being, we are the ultimate creation of God, and so on and such. Therefore, there cannot be and will not be and has not been anything else beyond that. And then admitting that, especially a government from what might be seen as being hostile, to try and push the agenda of disclosure, as if to say, it doesn't matter what you believe in, because we know otherwise, and you will do as we say. That's not taking into account what already goes on regarding so-called world policing and subjugation of various beliefs and various ideologies as well as cultures. When you add the religious flavour into the mix, you've got a melting pot for a disaster. I think that as well is a reason they're very tentative, even totally just dismissive of thinking about doing it on a global level anyway.
I think that's less true in the West, in the Western
Yeah,
cultures.
absolutely. That's my point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there are large sections of third world countries or whatever that just wouldn't believe it anyway. If it did come out, they would just refuse. They believe in their gods, whatever, and they would just think that
Probably
was
start
propaganda or something.
worshipping them. Probably.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Would it create a whole new set of religions that we wouldn't have control over? Because I mean, say what you like about religion, it's a lovely control mechanism.
Well, exactly. That for me is what religion's always been about. It's just using incredible story in order to control and manipulate society, giving them rules to live by, etc., etc. Like I've said on our podcast many times, I think a lot of the religions that have been formed have been misinterpretations of extraterrestrial visitations in the past, or hallucinogenic experiences where they've perhaps met other beings through the use of those chemicals. Yeah, I truly believe that.
No, I completely agree.
And we're now dealing with the story told through countless generations that's been passed down, and things have been lost and anthropomorphized and changed in order to keep the story passing on. And that's why you've got, I don't know, the same story of Jesus, his whole life story, died on the cross, resurrected, is also on an Egyptian temple in Luxor that predates it by 3,000 years. The exact same story.
Yeah.
It's just been carried. It's just been carried through as different stories through different generations.
Mole has just made a really good point there, that without religion, we'd be 1,000 years more advanced. I think we'd definitely be at least 500 years more advanced, because we wouldn't have had the Dark Ages. When if you think about where we were at the end of the Roman Empire, and then where we were 500 years after that, we'd gone back to, we had all this piping and indoor heating under the Romans, and then we just threw it all away.
Everybody blame Emperor Constantine.
Yeah, we just didn't bother. Yeah.
You see, the thing is in the West, we're more likely to be understanding that you need to sort of almost discard, if you like, conventional science, throw away a great deal of what you learn in Newtonian physics, and embrace quantum physics to make a lot of what we're experiencing make sense.
Yeah.
It then starts to make sense. Whether that will take on as a globe, I mean, we all know that quantum physics and quantum sciences are moving along at a phenomenal rate.
Yeah,
and the masses a lot of people are aware of them. Again, this is through social media, which is still a force of control, almost like a kind of religion, if you like. Certain TV shows and. I don't need to name them. We all know what they are. Let's go out with a prime directive and make sure that we never interfere with anything. And I mean, it's like, come on, I can't believe that was ever invented, given what mankind's like. It can't even get along with people on its own planet, let alone out in the universe and out in the galaxy amongst other races. But it still pushes the ideology of the fact that you've got to think sort of outside the scientific box, because even the scientists are starting to do that now. And popularizing great physicists such as Hawkins and people like that. But the East, not just the East, but primarily in that kind of area, and like you say, in subcontinents and in the third world, that's not even in their, it's not nevertheless in their remit. It's just not in their thinking or in their social or cultural structure at all. So they wouldn't be willing to accept that. Their ideology is based firmly in religion and the word of their elders. If there isn't anything scrawled on a piece of papyrus, or if there isn't any kind of hieroglyphs on a rock that suggests there's something other than what their belief system is, they won't even look at it. And they're very fervent about that.
But that's like indoctrination in any form, though, isn't it? If you get a child that's very young and indoctrinate them into any religion or belief system, then you know it's very hard to break that once they're an adult.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're programmed to believe the people we respect, our elders, when we're in younger ages. It's a survival mechanism. We can't question everything when you're 12 years old and you're trying to learn, or you'd why can't I run out into the motorway? Run over dead. So we're programmed to believe. So if you bring somebody up in the Catholic faith, the chances are they're not going to ever question it. And that's true for every faith. But at the end of the day, it seems to me anyway that every generation we have is less religious and more more willing to ask questions. And
there's a
yeah,
direct
Trevor's
correlation between wealth, internet access, and atheism.
I would say so. Yeah.
That pretty much relates to those two things really heavily. You find in most of Western Europe where, wealth is quite high. That the atheism is on the increase in most of these countries. They just
I
don't
would say
believe
more
stories
people
anymore.
believe in aliens than believe in God. Right? I would argue that's probably quite close. And that'll be popular with some people.
I think that's what the crime of religion has been for the last several thousand years. It's been the misinterpretation of the word God with extraterrestrial. As soon as we replace the word God in all the major religions with extraterrestrial, it all seems a lot more sensible when you read through.
God is an alien. It's simple.
Hey, it might be.
Well, nobody's just. Sorry.
Go on, sir. No, go on.
I was going to say it's just how you've got to understand how people at the time would interpret things and what they would put it down as, isn't it? It's very different to how we'd interpret things now.
Mm-hmm. I would say quantum mechanics and things now have been talking about almost describing what I would imagine to be God for the last few years. There's like dark energy. It's an energy that fills the universe. Einstein called it the ether. It's an energy that fills the universe. We don't really know what it is, but matter is really dependent on it. Without it, matter wouldn't exist. We wouldn't have clumps of matter and galaxies and things without it. And we think it's really like, it's the reason why we're here. And I'm like, that sounds a bit like God to me. It's like it's everywhere.
Sounds exactly like God. Yeah.
But the amount of things, I mean, I know we say on this channel all the time, and dark matter as well. It fills 80% of the universe, and we've got no clue what it is. And every scientist that talks about it, I love they talk about dark energy and dark matter and how important it is and how much of it there is and everything. And they say, okay, well, so what is it? No, we don't know, but we know there's 80% of it from this big math equation. Yeah, but what is it? No, we don't know. It's just like, because it's dark energy. So yeah, more or less there's what if the universe is sentient? This is going on to sort of a lot of spiritualism now, isn't it? And the one mind and the one consciousness.
Well, I think this explains a lot for me. Sorry, Jay. This explains a lot for me when it comes to a lot of experiences people have within the paranormal and spirituality. Anyway, is you're dealing with vibrational frequencies. You know, when you're talking about matter, you're talking about liquids, you're talking about solids and gases and so on and so forth. They all have a molecular structure and all vibrate at different frequencies and different densities of a populated atomic structure, which defines what they are. That's it. But we're dealing with just different vibrational frequencies of energy throughout the universe, and that's all it is. All of it is energy. We are comprised of energy. You know, we are begat of energy. We're dependent upon energy. We go back to being an energy in some sort of way. So it makes complete sense to me. And this is, I know it's segueing a little bit away from the disclosure thing, but that's the way they go. That's what bridges all the different fields, if you like, of the paranormal and ufology and cryptozoology, as well as, you know, spirituality, and it's all connected because of this. And when you marry up the fact that we're aware of vibrational frequencies, whether it's an electromagnetic field, whether it's light radiation, whether it's thermobaric pressure, whether there's lots of different types of energy, that it all actually does walk hand in hand with science, far from pulling away from it like a lot of people might think. And that helps me at least come to terms with the fact that it makes sense. It all does make sense. It's all much simpler than any of us realize, but because of that, it's so much deeper than we'll ever know or understand. And I know that seems like a contradiction in terms, but it's a bit like not seeing the wood for the trees kind of thing. Is if once we grasp that, it's at such a base level that we're dealing with vibrational frequencies which allow travel over vast distances, as well as beings to come in interdimensionally and transdimensionally, as well as manifestations, as well as it just makes more sense if you look at it from that point of view. So I see the bridge between it there.
I get a lot of arguments sometimes, people saying that, well, science doesn't, or physics doesn't allow for objects or for these UFOs to be from far off distances. And I'm saying,
Yeah.
well, you haven't been keeping up with them, because
Yeah.
it does. Not just in theoretical physics, NASA's gone and designed a warp drive that they think might work. If we start talking about interdimensional fold in space, on and on and on, there's 100 different ways that a UFO could genuinely be, and that's assuming that UFO or that vehicle isn't some sort of man-made probe. Some guy come to me and said about the Fermi paradox. And he said, well, if the Fermi paradox is basically that if there's a species that has been around long enough and it wanted to send a satellite to every every planet in the solar system, it would take about 100,000 years, and they could send a probe to every star within the solar system. We haven't seen that, so therefore there's no life in the universe. I would argue, one, we have seen that. Maybe that's what these UFOs are. But also, a UFO, in theory, actually wouldn't need to be man-made. We wouldn't fly. We don't even send man-made objects to Mars. We send robots. A species 1,000 years ahead of us wouldn't send. They wouldn't come here themselves. Potentially, they would send a probe, and you wouldn't even need it to approach light speeds. You can just send it and go, well, in a few hundred years, that'll send a message back to us if they wanted to. So, I mean, there's lots of reasons why that we don't necessarily need this exotic technology, and these UFOs could still be very real. They could still be sent from a star, Alpha Centauri, further, whatever.
Yeah.
There's no
Absolutely.
There's no limit to science.
Couldn't you argue the hundreds of thousands of sightings, in recent history would go against the Fermi paradox? A lot of credible witnesses in there, as well as a lot of uncredible witnesses. But
we've got more crap than we've got real sightings. I think 95% of stuff is fake. And who is sat at home, probably in their mom's basement, in their pants, faking UFO thing to put on YouTube so they can get a few views? And I was like, why are you doing that? And then they keep getting shared on things.
Well, I mean, one of the big ones was Gulf Breeze, wasn't it, though?
Yeah, the Gulf Breeze. Yeah,
for that, exactly. he rocked that for a while, didn't he? The Gulf Breeze thing, and then finding models stuck in his loft when the new people took on the that doesn't do that doesn't do the field any good, does it?
It certainly doesn't.
Exactly, no. It goes on and on, doesn't it? I mean, well, you can talk about Greedy Greer, Stephen Greer, with his faked CE5 things, which he very clearly faked it, and it's disappointing because his work on the Disclosure Project, which some people point to as being we've already had disclosure, was seminal. It was so important to us, and now we've got to put up with this crap that he's trying to shift us, and it's just fake. Why?
That's the one, Amy.
That's the thing, isn't it, with dimensions? Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Somebody explained to me that dimensions is like a big tall building, and you've got like an elevator that goes between the floors, and so you get certain places on Earth that's where the elevator is. So you get certain places on Earth, like the Bermuda Triangle, say, or something, that are like thin points where things can travel through, and that's where you get a lot of sightings and things in certain places. Because there's certain places that they can exactly that they can get through. Oh, actually, we discussed this last time, didn't we? I think I maybe made the same example.
I was just thinking Skinwalker's
it was a good
bit
example.
better than Bermuda Triangle.
I don't think actually the Bermuda Triangle is anything, if I'm honest, but I think statistically it's just a very busy sea lane. Even though there's been some odd,
two different currents and stuff like
topographical and geographical reasons, as well as I think it can be completely discounted. The Bermuda Triangle, personally.
Yeah.
But we do have definitely energies that run through the, like Moonbear's just said about the ley lines. This is something that seemed to be known for forever, and there seems to be there seems to be certain places that these ley lines cross, and they do. Is that just a coincidence?
There's fluctuations in the Earth's magnetic field that seem to be where major ancient major ancient sites are located. Is that by coincidence? I doubt it. I'm pretty sure they were probably aware of it, and that's why they built them there. As to whether there's travel between dimensions and the possibility of like stargates, where the electromagnetic field varies and at particular points on the Earth's surface, I don't know, but I do think there's a lot of interesting work to be done in physics and electromagnetism and trying to unify that to gravitational wave theory and into quantum theory, to be honest. And I think that's where Area 51 and all of the military industrial complex is far more ahead of the rest of the scientific research community is, because that's where all the funding goes and where all the scientists that go into anti-gravity propulsion systems seem to disappear to.
And at some point in the last 50 years, somebody's gone quantum entanglement or something like that. How can we militarize that? How can we weaponize this quantum this thing?
The same way that certain agencies can charge you for the luxury of water, Jay.
Yeah. It should be that basic. Yeah. Basic thing. No, I agree with you. It does worry me though that our militaries just seem to think about how do we militarize anything that we don't know, anything we don't understand. How can we put a gun on it? You talk about. I'm not a big believer in the truth. That's basic, isn't it? I don't really believe a lot of these stories about the World War II and the Nazi bell and the Nazi. I can't think. I want to say Halubo, but that's not right. Halubi.
The Hamel.
Yeah, those things. I don't really believe that.
You mean the German saucer?
The flying saucers with guns sticking out the top.
Hanmau or something like that. Hanmau.
There was two or three different types.
I can't remember the name.
I don't really believe it myself. But that is what we would do. If we found a UFO, we would first of all see if we could fly it, and then we would then go, how do we stick a gun on it?
We'd crash it, secondly.
Well, we'd fly it and crash it. Put a gun on it. I don't know why these people think a gun, like a machine gun off a UFO, would work anyway. If it's like using anti-grav technology, I can see the bullets are going out and then coming straight back again.
Back in through the windscreen, as it were, yeah. Railgun or...
That didn't work. Yeah, it would have to be
directed energy weapons, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen the Space Force advert for America protecting space? Quite scary. I think I know what Amol's talking about there, but I actually think I don't think it's genuine though, is it? The one I've seen was actually from Independence Day, the second one though, and it's an advert there saying, "Join Space Force and we'll protect the universe," and it was put up like it was part of Space Force, but it actually wasn't. It was from the movie. They got away with it because nobody watched the film. Like, I think I might be the only person in the country that actually watched the movie.
I suffered it too, Jay.
That was in Greer's C5, wasn't it?
It was in
Greer's C5, the advert, wasn't it, from that film?
You should join Space Force too. And it wasn't called Space Force though, but people were putting it like it was a Space Force. And they don't call it Space Force. It's called like, I can't remember, Space Administration or something. Space Defense or something, wasn't it? But so I don't... no, there is a real one. Okay. Mole, we'll have a chat about that. You'll have to send it me.
Well, there sort of has been that's been alluded to with the SDI stuff in the 80s.
Yeah,
hasn't there? With Reagan pushing the SDI, and we've talked about this satellite defense and various footage that suggests it's been used in the STS, various STS missions and stuff. So I mean, all these, like I say,
we stopped talking about Star Wars. But that was a big thing in the 80s and 90s, and then they sort of like, it's almost like it works. Stop talking about it.
Like, leave it. Just leave it as it is.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, it was massively inexpensive. It didn't work, and then they were like, "How many billions of dollars have we spent on this?" Yeah, stop talking about it. Sort of thing. It was definitely one or the other. I suspect maybe more that it worked.
I think America's been trying to weaponize space a lot, but I think they've had a lot of failed attempts because there's been a lot of reports, haven't there, of intercontinental ballistic missiles that have broken out of the atmosphere, and things, any kind of weapons that they're trying to put into space have just been destroyed, basically, aren't they? When they've been testing them or trying to put them into position. There was that one guy on the Disclosure Project. where he was on about a UFO flying and then zapping the intercontinental missile
Yeah,
from
the
the four
rocket.
sides and it just dropping out of the sky. So it seems like it's almost like you know
Either that
South
or they're
Park,
hitting the dome.
where South Park where they did that episode about the
I'm joking.
about the aliens and the space cache.
The space cache, yeah. Saying that though, do you think if there are
They
different
enclose the Earth in a
alien,
big cube because we're not ready to be with the rest of the intergalactic federation? But anyway,
yeah, HARP was a space weapon, so I know that HARP thing, partly built by BAE HARP, so I'm quite proud of that.
Yeah.
Because British weather changing technology. Yeah, I'm quite pleased. We've also built some of the biggest rail guns, so rule Britannia. We just have to get the Americans to pay for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Those British people, we just go to America and go, we've got this wicked weapon. Would you mind paying for it, please? Because we haven't got any money. To get back to, if there are different species and they're visiting us, and again, it might be that they're not talking to our government, so that's why. But do you think that some are here with different agendas? If they are trying to maybe even protect us or look after us, do you think that that's possible? That they would be stopping our weapon systems from stopping us from weaponizing space?
Me, absolutely, 100%. If there are multiple species of EBE in contact, in liaison with anybody, I don't like to say governments because I don't think that's the highest things go. But if they're in cahoots with anybody, absolutely, because all you've got to do is look at the way that we interact on the planet. I mean, giving somebody something in one hand and then giving their enemy the same thing in the other kind of thing. And all our governments are doing it. I mean, our biggest export is arms, and that's the UK, which a lot of people sort of might not be so proud. You know, I mean, what a lot of people might not be aware of.
Has always been really, really good at killing people.
That is absolutely true.
Like we're brilliant at it.
That's why I managed to have a cup of tea a minute ago. Yeah, for that very reason. You just got to look at tea. So I think yes, they would have different agendas. I mean, depending upon who you listen to and what you're led to believe. There is an ongoing intergalactic battle for the good of the galaxy and for the good of mankind between various races, and that's the reason we've got technology and we're being looked after now, is because there's alien races that believe in we should be able to profligate throughout the universe and expand, and there is other alien races that don't believe in that at all. I'm not going to name them because I'm pretty sure everybody knows them. I'll let you play a guessing game and do it yourself. But that's what's sort of hinted at and alluded to. So but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if there's multiple alien races that they've all got their own agenda, or at least there's different things going on. It won't just be as simple as here's mankind, here's a load of technology, we love you guys, and now we're going to turn into Roger and live in your basement like American Dad. Is it?
Well, also, individual humans are very different, aren't they, as well? So you can have malevolent human beings that are, rapists and serial murderers, and you can have people that are really interested in community life, and most of the world fits into the latter, fortunately. But it could be the same with, aliens. Someone could come to power in an alien race that just happens to be a malevolent tyrant that likes killing.
Absolutely.
It's possible. So, so I don't think you could tar an entire species necessarily with one agenda. I just don't know that it'd be possible to do that.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think we're exactly the same. And I do think there's going to be different agendas depending on different needs as well. I mean, generally, we tend to be need-driven, don't we? We tend to do what we need to do. If we want or what we want. If I want what Dave's got, I might invade his house and take it. I don't want anything Steve's got. This is the second time I've picked on Steve tonight. Stevie baby. Hey, don't be rude. This is a family show. But there are going to be different agendas for different things, and they may come here one day and want our gold, like the Anunnaki. They might come here and they might need genetic knowledge or information, and there might be lots of them, and they might actually want to just sometimes help. I always wonder that life might actually be very, very rare, or intelligent life, I should say, it might be very rare in the galaxy. So when a UFO, an alien species come here, they might actually want to protect it. They might know that it's quite fragile, which we know
Yeah,
actually it probably is. The chances of us lasting the next 100 years are, 50-50 sort of thing. So, I mean,
I think I
do
believe the
think-
opposite. I think I believe it's more likely to be teeming with life and an intelligent life. When you think bacteria can survive on the exterior of a space shuttle, and that comets, transpermia, carry bacterial life all around the universe into different solar systems, different planets.
Yeah.
I just think I don't know. I like to think of the whole thing as the universe is there for life to propagate.
I think life is probably everywhere, and I think we're going to find it in the solar system. I honestly think our first contact with alien life will be something we step in, and it'll be like, oh, it's all sticky, and it'll be, and you slip over and some slime, and go, oh, I've just stood on a UFO. I mean, that's what I think it's going to be similar to Earth. 98% of life on Earth is bacterial, or something like that. I've just pulled 98% off the top of my head, but most life is microbial, and it's probably going to be the same in the universe. Intelligent life might be quite rare.
Yeah, like you say, at least there's going to be a lot of life out there that's monocellular. It's going to be, like you say, microscopic and bacterial. Yeah.
So in that case, they might be coming here and go, please don't kill yourselves. You're actually quite special.
What if they have been coming here since day one, and it's normal, right? And then coming through these portals, visiting us and all these UFOs and everything like that we've been seeing since day one virtually, and it happens every planet that's like Earth or not like Earth, and it's our government, the leaders of the world who, since, I don't know, late Victorian times have gone, well, no, we've got to change this. Excuse me. We know what's going on. We know all these things happen and stuff like that. And are just, trying to dumb us down in a way. And that it is all normal and that we should be experiencing and sharing everything that's going on and things like that. It could be, it could be anything, really, at the end of the day. But,
okay. Well, let's get back to the disclosure in this June 1st thing then. Just to get back to the reason, again, the title of the video, which we should discuss occasionally. Tic Tac videos. The government actually, I can imagine the Tic Tac videos being released, and then somebody at the CIA going, "Did you just tell the truth? That we don't know what that was," sort of thing, and then like everybody running around going, "Why are you telling the truth? Why are you telling the truth?" And then it must have been very like opposite to their normal behaviors. But is there a point to it? Is there a point to this information that's being released? Either that it's genuine. I mean, Dave, you're going to have to explain your reaction to the Tic Tac video to me. Go.
Well, first of all, I just for that to be a catalyst to anything is I just find amazing, quite frankly. But just to slip off to the side a little bit when it comes to that, I think it's come to my attention, and not just mine, a lot of other people that are in the paranormal community, cryptozoology community and stuff, that there's been a lot more sightings, a lot more experiences that have gone on over the last 12 months. Indeed, they've been going on a lot more over the last few years, but especially the last 12 months.
Yeah.
As if things are changing. Whether the energy around the world is changing, whether the global or connected mindset of mankind is changing is unsure, but more things are being seen, more things are being experienced. And it's not just down to technology like mobile phones and such, so people can take blurry videos that look like they've been filmed on a potato, because we've been having them for many years, and we'll continue to keep getting these grainy, absolute dross pieces of evidence, because as soon as the two good people just like slap CGI label all over them and dismiss them out of hand anyway.
Or
they don't get it.
That's the one I get.
Oh,
that's a drone.
Exactly. It's drone, and it's always, well, clearly you don't know a lot about drones if you're using that to totally debunk every little thing you see.
So
I think it's sort of needed. I think, you know, they have to give us little snippets of information, little bits of information. And why not do it on a platform that's everybody's raving about at the minute, you know? I mean, even YouTubers are using TikTok to help get views and subscribers. So why not the governments around the world? Why not use a TikTok video to help put a little bit of something out there, a little bit of a tantalizer, especially to coincide with, well, it's conveniently just about to release more information, just like we keep saying we're going to, but have never done. You know, I mean, we've always rescinded on that statement in some kind of way, or used it as a veiled threat to tantalize you into believing the narrative, which has never come to fruition, because here we'll be again. I think I can see a lot of disappointed faces on June the 2nd. I'll put it that way. That's what I'm expecting.
Do you think they're doing it just for, this is going to sound like a silly question, but do you think they're just doing it for clicks? That even the government, I mean, because I'm a Man United fan, right? And there is a genuine point to this. They released,
sorry to hear that, man.
I know, it's really painful for the last 7 or 8 years. But there has to be a news story on United every day, right? Because we're the most popular, most backed team in the world. But so a lot of those stories end up being false. But the thing is, they will release a story just to get clicks and to get hype. Our government wouldn't do a similar thing, would they? They're basically just, this could be just about generating. I've always thought it's about generating distraction.
Well,
look at over here. There's a UFO over here. Look. So that's what
is politics not about popularity?
Yeah.
I mean, politics is about popularity. It's about, you know, automatic gainsay over your opponent or the opposition. It's about making glib statements about what you're going to do for everybody, and then completely going back on everything you say. It is a popularity contest just to get into power, or to force some kind of agenda. So it wouldn't surprise me if it is. I mean, surely the world governments are aware of how big social media is as a platform. You've just got to look at the control mechanisms they put in place about what you can and cannot say about the virus, if you like, and how you'll be silenced because of it.
Love of God, I've already had a couple of videos taken down.
Didn't social media get someone elected? But anyway, so they reckon first election, wasn't it, where they reckon that social media actually swung the election that way by
absolutely,
by targeted advertising. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
But I think we're being led down. I just think this is a trap. I think the TikTok videos and the Speedster video and everything, that at least we could say about those videos that they're not fake. They're not CGI for once, so that's nice. Or we're reasonably confident anyway. They might not have been released for a genuine reason. The reason for why they've released them, there might be an agenda to, which I suspect. I just feel like it's a trap, but I don't quite know what that trap is. I'm not quite sure I understand what I mean by when I say it's a trap, but I just feel like we're walking towards something and it's gonna snap on us. Do you know?
I don't think it's coincidence that there's a lot of things going on, right? I'm not going to use certain terminology for the reasons you mentioned earlier, but there's an awful lot going on, and there's a subcurrent. People just need to pay attention a little bit to what's going on, and it's typical black flag distraction. Look at this over here while they're doing something with the other hand, kind of stuff. And I think this is just part of all that. It's part of all that. While certain rights and certain things that I don't really want to call them rights because you fight for them, but certain things that people have got used to being within their life are being taken away from underneath them as part of the control mechanism.
Yeah, giving away freedoms for the false idea of security, which if the government lets on that they can't actually defend us, then why are you going to give away your freedoms? So that's why I don't think that they can really come out and disclose too much, and why it's all drip-fed little bit, especially around the pandemic. You know, let's just release a few videos that show some metallic objects, UFOs flying at high speeds and doing incredible maneuvers, but we'll do it just after a pandemic when the news is flooded about this pandemic, so nobody even really notices the videos have been released, or as few people as possible.
It is
they've
crazy.
been good at doing that over the years.
But they actually released videos of UFOs and nobody cared or noticed. It's like except us geeks. But so do you think then it's a coincidence basically that we've been going through what we've gone through in the last 12 months and the UFO sightings have gone up like 200% or something?
No.
Is that a coincidence?
I'm not a big
don't believe
believer in
so.
coincidence.
I don't do coincidence either. No.
Yeah, I just think it's I think there's more people sat at home, sat on their hands. I think that might be a big part of it.
Yeah, there's a lot more people. They're probably seeing the skies a lot more, and probably videoing stuff a lot more, and watching videos more. So they're probably videoing and watching more. Yeah,
because they're bored.
Yeah.
They're bored.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no,
Definitely.
it's. I think there's been a big hike in fake videos in the last few months as well, because I think people saw maybe how popular the TikTok video was, and people thought, I'll have a bit of that. But some of the fake nonsense we have to put up with.
I'm in a field where the very propagation of it and as an idealism is totally dependent upon people faking their experiences, because that's what makes people interested in it. That's what puts bums on seats, and that's what drives it. Unfortunately, I see it all the time. You know, to be called round to a residential property to do an investigation and walking through the door, and there's 20 people there. They've called neighbours in, they've called friends and said, hey, these are the paranormal guys that are going to do an investigation at my house, and they've got cameras out. And it's like, you know, look, we're not Most Haunted, we're not Ghost Adventures or something. This is supposed to be genuine, you know, but they want it. It's fashionable to be involved in it. I mean, ufology is a little bit different. I mean, I think, you know, it's taken off and it's bigger than it was. But there's still that need. It's like, look, you know, we got to feed the interest. And if by feeding that interest and validating why we're here means slipping out the odd video and getting a little bit of infamy, by doing so, people are going to do it, and it's becoming more and more easy to do it.
Is it because it's entertainment? And it's just become a different form of entertainment? Because obviously we've had movies of aliens and ghosts and things, and people just want that to be, it's reality TV in your home. Is it?
I think it's difficult to answer that, because I'd like to think that I'm up here with 3 people who wouldn't fake a video of a UFO.
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
Do you know what I mean?
2 reasons. So, I've got integrity, and I wouldn't know how. So, I've got no knowledge, no internet knowledge. So I physically wouldn't be able to. And I honestly, I keep saying this. If I had more integrity, if I had less integrity, I'd have 10 times the subscribers. I honestly believe that. Yeah,
the same here. Yeah.
The amount of videos I've seen, it's like 250,000 subscribers or more, and they're talking about flat Earth. I'm just like, are you kidding me? You know?
I'm expecting to lose a load after this tonight, funnily enough.
Yeah, I'm still unsubscribed. But I do think there's an element of that, but I also think, it's a good example of that is that blimp that was seen 8 or 9 months ago, the Goodyear blimp, and everyone's there looking at it, going, "Look, it's a UFO! Oh my God, this is amazing! Wow!" And they're looking at the Goodyear blimp. I saw somebody share that about 3 weeks ago. Actually, go look at this as a UFO over New
pathetic,
York.
Isn't it?
And I had to go.
Absolutely pathetic.
That was like immediately. That's like the next day. Everyone pointed out it's the Goodyear blimp. No, seriously.
Yeah. There's a fine line though between misidentification and deliberately and nefariously misleading people. Because there's been a lot of misidentification over the years that's been put out there genuinely to be what they consider like authentic evidence. You know, but I think that balance has changed. We're more in the realms of look at this. I mean, it took years for people to cotton onto the like Chinese lanterns as not being UFOs, and then when they were, everybody started to use them and like to try and make out that it was like a fleet of UFOs, like the 1990s ovnis over Mexico City, and that all multiple lights in the sky and this kind of thing, you know, slightly out of focus camera footage, wobble it that little bit more, so it makes it difficult to pinpoint where it is in relation to its background. Yeah,
it's burned out. So, gone behind a cloud. It's disappeared and then reappeared. Ooh, there's a cloud there. There was a video just a few weeks ago, and I actually did a video on it, and I said, look, it's Chinese lanterns, everyone needs to calm down. And I had a load of people going, no, it isn't, it's orbs. It's look, Chinese lanterns don't do that. And he goes, just double check, the date of the video was Chinese New Year. It was lanterns. That's your hint. Yeah. So but people will believe, I mean, Dave, you know, cognitive bias. People will believe and they will find evidence, and they will find angles on. I mean, I think I mentioned flat Earth a minute ago. Flat Earth is a great example of that. People believe that for religious reasons, I think. So they will find the evidence that fits that narrative, even if all the other evidence doesn't. The fact that if you go up high enough, you can see it, that the Earth isn't flat. And they'll ignore all the evidence that says
that, because that's an irrelevance to their belief system, and it's that's an irrelevance to them. I get it. I get it all the time with debunkers. Okay, when it comes to investigations, the thing about debunkers is they like to assume that people who investigate don't have cognitive reason in themselves. They don't have the ability to be able to cast out what isn't, realistic or proven science, or pseudoscience at least, that can be taken to form evidence, and they're only capable of like associative thinking. It's like you can't possibly think that might be a weather balloon. You can't possibly think that might be breath on a photograph that you've captured and tried to put forward as being a mist. You're not capable of doing that because you're an investigator. So therefore, you're either hoaxing or you believe. And I think it's the same thing. If it just doesn't suit you, the people's narrative or understanding or narrow-minded type of thinking, then they're just not going to be even remotely interested in giving it a second thought. I see that a lot.
Yeah,
confirmation bias.
Yeah,
you look for your own bias. You're looking for information that confirms your already preset ideas. But we all do that to a certain extent. We probably swing more to the believing of UFO sightings, perhaps, than more skeptical people do, because we have an interest in it.
And I'm more likely than anybody or most people I've spoke to completely throw out my own so-called evidence or findings and be my own biggest critic, skeptic, and debunker. I will gladly accept other people's opinions and ideas and their thoughts upon anything I ever put forward, obviously. But I would also like to be accredited with being able to have the same reasonable and logical thinking that they have too when it comes to debunking or being a skeptic.
Yeah, I get accused of being closed-minded a lot because I don't believe that reptilians are really in charge and that the royal family aren't really reptilians, and so you're closed-minded. You're not open to the possibility. I'm like, no, that's my opinion. You're closed-minded because you're not even open to the possibility that you might be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm at least open to the possibility that I'm wrong. I do have beliefs, and I do believe alien intelligence is visiting our planet. I don't believe in ghosts. I am open to the possibility that I'm wrong on both those counts. So I'd like to think that makes me open, but I am going to have things that I am biased about, just because there are beliefs that I have built into me because I don't have the intelligence to think around it. I'm biased about things like spirituality, but it's not because I am not open to it. It's I physically don't have the intelligence to understand it. I want to, I try. But I do get yelled at a lot saying that I'm closed-minded just because I don't believe your belief. And that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as being closed-minded.
No,
particularly when I talk about 9/11. Oh, got yelled at a lot doing 9/11.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you would.
You do upset people, don't you, unfortunately, with that topic, but yeah.
I upset people on most topics.
But
the thing is, our series, though, which we've always done, it's another reason why we haven't got 10,000 or 1 million subscribers, is because we will share like both sides of an opinion. So I will talk about a subject and I will say, and actually this is why it might not be true, but this is why it might be true, and then people just watch half the video and go, well, you're a shill. Well, I'm like, because you didn't talk about blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, if you'd watched the video for another 30 seconds, you'd have seen that we discussed that bit. And
either that or we just read the title and don't even bother watching the video.
That's my favourite.
Oh yeah, I've got a better one where as soon as you put the title of the video up and you start your live stream about it, within 10 minutes everybody's done a Google search and knows everything about it. So the next hour and 50 minutes you're just wasting your time. They've already reached a conclusion and started talking about next week's shopping in the side chat.
Exactly. When I put the Mars video up about is NASA faking missions, I got a lot of messages saying, oh, here we go, another flat earth nutter. We sent our rockets up and hit the inside of the globe, did you? And I got a few of that, and I'm just like, you've not even remotely looked at the video, because I spent a lot of things saying, now this is a theory. People think we're faking this, and we're not. It makes no sense. We talked about doing it for like half an hour, but it really doesn't make any sense that NASA's faking missions. But I still got called flat Earth idiot. I'm like, what? But anyway, so to go back to, we'll go have one more thing on disclosure, and then it's nearly my bedtime because I'm tired and old. Damian mentioned it earlier. Operation Bluebeam is everything that we're seeing. Is there an agenda? Is that agenda going to be that actually we're being set up for the whole New World Order, the whole end of the world? And we do have to here consider the Americans and the fact that they've amassed the largest army the planet has ever seen in the last 20 years. And is there a reason for that as well? Thoughts? Go.
Could be.
Go on, Steve.
Go for it. Go for it,
Could
Stevie.
be. I mean, New World Order's been around for decades, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? For decades. A lot of things point. Yeah. Well, yeah. Evidence points towards it, doesn't it? It's I don't know.
Well, if we talk about Von Braun,
I don't know.
All right. So Von Braun talked about this,
you,
didn't he, Damien? You know this story. So what Carol Rosen talked about, didn't she?
Well, yeah, Carol Rosen.
Dave's got people bringing him coffee. That's not fair.
Sorted.
You noticed that, did you?
Dr. Ben.
Yeah, so
21. Go on, Damien.
That Dr. Carol Rosen, then. She worked with Werner von Braun, didn't she? And I think she was part of the disclosure project, wasn't she, that Stephen Greer did back in 2001. And then she said that Werner von Braun, when working closely with her, had warned her that first that they were going to use Russia basically as the enemy in order to continue the development of ammunitions and weapons, and then they were going to have to switch the enemy to religious extremists, and then finally from a religious extremist onto a faked alien invasion in order to enforce a one world government by the ruling banking elite. So that was her warning that came from Werner von Braun, who was stolen through that Operation Paperclip after World War II, and put at the head of NASA's rocket program. It's quite surprising, isn't it, actually, how many of the SS scientists survived and were used by various other countries, mostly America.
It's amazing how we can ignore your crimes. He goes, you did what? But you can build a rocket and we can build the moon landings. You're forgiven.
Yes.
Coincidental, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we don't do that, do we? We don't do that.
How many degrees have you got? How many people did you murder? We'll weigh the two up and see which we go with. Actually, could we just we'll murder? We'll put that guy on trial over there that hasn't got any. I can't do anything for us. It's amazing.
Again, this thing might be going
power. Money and power.
A little bit, but you sort of segue into. Never mind Bluebeam. Look at Nostradamus's quatrains.
Oh, right,
about the very things, the very things that Damien's just listed.
Never shipped him.
Nostradamus did make a lot of predictions, didn't he? Of which a remarkable amount have come into fruition.
In some way, it depends upon your interpretation of it. I concede that, but nevertheless, it's very much in line with, when you read into them with the so-called narrative of Bluebeam.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a coincidence that America is in the process of building the largest military force and spends more money on the defense than the next 5 countries combined. And which, again, when you consider 2 of those countries, Russia and China, is just scare us all to death. I don't think there's any coincidence the fact that they have 200 something bases around the world.
200,
and it's more than that, isn't it? Sorry, is it
just over 200.
Did I
think
miss a zero off?
Military bases. There's over 1,000 military bases America have. There's about
no, it's over 2,000. Yeah,
I
is
think
it over
it's more
2? Is it in
isn't
total?
over 2,000. Yeah.
Blimey, I
And
didn't
that's
realise.
without all the dumbs that we don't potentially know about. So deep underground bases that we might not know about. The public reason why they rented Diego Garcia off us was so that they can hit India. Basically, they said there was a big patch of land they couldn't 800 miles, and there's a big patch of land that of the earth their bombers couldn't reach, so they rented Diego Garcia off us. That should scare us to death. That they have gone into it and gone, we really could do with this tiny little patch of land in the middle of the ocean that you own, and we'll give you money for it because we want to be able to hit this target because we can't at the moment. That should scare us to death. But it doesn't. People don't talk about it.
First ones to cry to the rest of the world when Russia tried to pull it off in Cuba, though.
Yeah, exactly. Which is disgusting. If you remember, then America had nuclear weapons in Turkey at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they were talking about an island 100 miles off the coast or something of Florida. They had nuclear missiles 10 or 12 miles from the border with Russia, and they still nearly started World War III over it. I mean, the hypocrisy is just insane.
Savage hypocrisy. Yes, I'd agree.
Yeah.
But in the West, our history is written by the Americans, basically, or the victors. So our history is that JFK did this amazing task, and this amazing thing, and what a great, amazing president he was. And you could argue that because he was a massive hypocrite. But
same thing can be said for Churchill, for the UK, though.
Yeah.
You just need to look into Churchill. He's sort of held on the same kind of pedestal. He's got a dark, what ultimately what came about. You've just got to look into the Middle East.
Yeah. We would be the mightiest nation on earth if we'd have got hold of the Middle East. The Americans made us give it back. And we were like, I can imagine Churchill there going with holding all these countries behind his back, going sort of like, oh no, give back India. Oh, I don't want to give back India. That's where all our tea comes from. And give back the Middle East because we know how much oil's there. We're like, oh yeah, something. We'd be dominant. We'd still be the most powerful nation on earth if we hadn't given back the Middle East.
When you think about all the military bases that America's installed all around the world and how it is now essentially the world police, they're going around telling people how to deal with their own problems quite a lot.
Yeah. But is that the next step?
New World Order.
Is that where we're going though? Are we going to get an Independence Day situation like all the movies that we've been told, that we've had for decades that we now genuinely believe to be true? And people won't bat an eyelid if it happens because we've seen it in the films. That if the aliens attack,
what do you think would happen if the fake alien invasion thing happened? What do you think would be the outcome of it?
Do you mean sociologically?
I mean, government-wise, are they going to, round us all up in bats of hands and say, right, we're going to take you to this safe place, or what would be the point in a fake alien invasion?
Be the speech from Independence Day telling us to all band together, one species against the alien attack. That's what it would be like.
Did Reagan allude to that?
That would bring us all together.
Each species.
That would be pointless for them to do that, though. Surely.
Not if there's one elite body that wants to rule it all quite openly rather than surreptitiously.
But if they're getting us to all group together to fight the alien invasion, which we wouldn't be able to fight because it wouldn't be real. But
they would only. That's how psyops works, isn't it? That's the very definition of how it works. I mean, it's the same thing as people saying, release something out into the environment, cause a global worry about something that most people are okay about, but it's been started deliberately to depopulate the earth. Well, there's more convenient ways and more effective ways of doing it, such as warfare.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
you got to remember as well, the first thing they'll do is the aliens will destroy all the other world governments. The attacks will be focused on Beijing,
the White
Moscow,
House, capital cities, and parliamentary buildings. Yeah,
but the president will survive because he'll be under NORAD or something else.
Yeah.
But like I say, so there is that possibility that actually there will be it will be a concerted effort, and there'll be a plan, and that'll be the thing. And then the Americans will save us.
That's it. The remaining world leaders will then go and put some puppet into power, like the director of the WHO, to run the world.
No, but the same kind of thing that we've seen in the Middle East, that we're shocking our major infrastructure and installations.
Yeah.
To bring about emergency procedures and laws that are brought in to make people conform, so they actively want the change themselves, and they think that they've brought it about because they've cried out for it. We want a response. We want something doing about this. And that's what happens all the time, and that's what will come out with the same thing. We need to protect you. We need you to be able to do it. And the people cry, "Yes, yes, do it." So they march, blinking. Now, really. And it's been going on for years, and that's what will happen. The infrastructure will be attacked. The monetary systems, all the defence, the seats of government. So people will cry out for the very change that they've always wanted to have over us in the first place. That's what will happen.
And that's
you want the population to beg you for the change. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You want also the thing is that's the way to do it. I had a little issue with work today, and my tactic was to make them think it was their idea. Well, actually, it was a pain in the neck. But I wanted to get somebody to do something for me to do us favour, something that I told them they couldn't do last week. But now this week I want them to do it because it suited my purposes. So I got them to think it was their idea. Basically.
Reverse psychology, I like it.
A little bit. And that's what the government is probably doing with us as well, that they're going to this. And you could argue that that's kind of what's been going on with COVID. And, this video is so going to be banned now. But I said the C word. But basically, they've wanted to put in certain control measures for a very long time, or for us to accept certain control measures. And now all of a sudden, this pandemic's come along, and they've been able to do it. But not only have they been able to do it, we've demanded it. We will probably have a COVID passport, in the next 6 months at some point to say I've been thinking. But people will demand it. They will say, not only do I want this control measure, I insist you do it to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people are terrified, they're scared. And when it comes to protecting my children, I will do anything at the end of the day.
Power of media.
I think So
I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this guy.
There's a reason why we do the videos together.
Yeah.
I sometimes have to rein him in. Now think about that, Damian. Come on back, bud. Come on back. Come on back from the dark side.
I've been down many of the rabbit holes.
Drag him back out by his feet sometimes.
Yeah.
He did once come to me and say, mermaids are real. They're proven. And are you sure about that, Damian? Go, yeah, I saw it on Animal Planet. No, you're sure about that, Damian? And it actually turned out he had seen it on Animal Planet, but he was doing something else and half watching it. And Animal Planet actually got fined for it, didn't they?
Yeah. I just happened to be like, I was like, this is an animal. What?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, mermaids are real. Excellent. Good. And in this documentary, it was like a guy with a camera and he's running on a log, and there's this mermaid inside the log. But it was a mockumentary, basically. But
I got duped because I was half watching it and then realised, obviously, my error.
That's why, like Orson Welles and War of the Worlds, that caused a bit of a stir in the 30s with the same thing. Yeah,
it did.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and it made us think about it. It's all about getting this stuff to become normal, and that's what they need. And this thing about a new normal. I mean, we talk about that about COVID, but actually, you can talk about it when we're talking about disclosure as well.
Oh, yeah.
All you need is enough people to consider it to be normal, and then they don't question it.
Could this be a test run? Could this be a test run
to see how people react? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, COVID tests aren't cheap as well, though. So, like COVID passports, if all the world governments bring them in, but it's just going to stop poor people from travelling. It'll inhibit people's travel, which is again another freedom that they probably want to take away from
people.
They
do that in China already, don't they? I think.
Ostracising the poor. What else is new?
Well, yeah, it's not like we've got a record of that through all of recorded history.
Yeah.
We tax them more heavily than the rich. What you said, Damian, there's a reason why like 80% of all laws are to do with protecting wealth. They're to do with property laws, and
absolutely,
tax laws, and everything. There's like, oh, thou shalt not murder, and then a massive book on thou shalt protect my wealth. It's like that's not by mistake. That's
you can get a
very
longer
much
prison
on purpose.
sentence for financial crimes than you can for aggressive, violent crimes.
Yeah,
you could do manslaughter or rape and get off with a lower sentence than fraud or bribery.
you've only got to look at the what was it called now? If you made allegations against the crown or the government.
Treason.
Treason. It's
high treason as well.
Not too long ago. We've only just done away with high treason. And the sentence that would carry. You could murder a group of people, like Damian said, or do all sorts of stuff. But if you commit treason, that's the one.
The thing is, as well, but the law under high treason was very vague, and I could call
conveniently.
I could call the Queen a slut and get done for high treason, technically.
Yeah.
And because it's very vague, and that's what the lovely thing about lots of these laws is they're quite vague, and they're vague on purpose, because the more vague they are, the more things they can implement it on. Basically.
The same thing.
The more things
same
they
thing
say,
goes
that comes under that law.
With self-defense. That's why that's a very grey area, because you get judged upon the validity of it in front of your peers. So it's like, well, there isn't an absolute. What do you consider being okay to justify self-defense? It's like, well, we'll let a group of 12 people maybe decide on that, depending upon the mood. It's like, right, well, that's massively convenient again, isn't it? Thanks for that one.
There's so many ways. You remember that South Park video when they banned bear hunting? So they just said, but you're allowed to do it in self-defense. So they were all screaming, "He's coming right for me!" And then shooting at some poor innocent animal.
I love South Park.
I grew up on that show.
It's
really
true. That's the problem. It's truth, isn't it?
That is absolutely.
I do wonder why Blair got rid of high treason. You'd think actually that was a law that the people that control us would want to get rid of, because he was so many beautiful things.
He was aware of how many people that would follow him that would be guilty of committing it.
Yeah, I was going to say that was it. Yeah, he was protecting his own arse and the future arses of his political party colleagues.
So I think it was actually Tony Blair. They're going, "Oh, I've just committed high treason." Oh, yeah. When we invaded Iraq, God, I committed like 4 counts of high treason. I better get rid of that. And then we left Europe so that the European Court of Justice can't do it.
Human rights. Yeah.
Human rights. Let's create a massive backlog, and then we'll leave Europe so we can't get them back. Right.
I just found out as well that the England football team have Nick Pope as their goalkeeper.
Yeah, I know. 95% of goals that are scored against him aren't real, and it's only the 5% that we should be worried about.
If only that was true.
Yeah,
that would make the World Cup coming and the Euros a lot easier.
Yeah, Nick Pope's the mermaid goalkeeper.
Don't count.
Hey, we won last night, so let's.
Only just.
Happy days.
But yeah, we did.
But it was a Man United player that scored the winning goal. Thank you very much. He can still go to The Hague, though. That's the point. Tony Blair still can go to The Hague, in theory. What do you think they're genuinely? I've never. We discussed this when we did the 9/11 series. We invaded Iraq. Everybody knows that was an illegal conflict, but nobody ever got done for it. And that is, to me, the best example of who is actually in control of this country. And that even though we all know exactly what happened, nothing ever happened. Nothing was ever done about it.
No, because
we invaded Afghanistan as well, and like, what?
I find the best thing to do with the politicians is just go and have a look what job they take after they finish their term in office. Yeah, because that's who they were working for whilst they were in power.
Yeah,
yeah.
They funded the campaign trail and they give them a job.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. They've all different coloured rosettes. They all do the same thing.
Yeah, they all just
doesn't matter what flag they're waving. You know.
Yeah.
When they get into power.
Yeah. Is that true what Molnar said there, that they don't care as much now? I actually think that back in the day, we used to be more blatant. And I think now public opinion is, in the West at least, is so much more important. They actually really do care about public opinion. and the governments, and that's possibly one of the reasons why disclosure's at the forefront, because people actually care about it.
Only from a party perspective and getting re-elected over the other parties. I don't think they really care above and beyond that, though, do they?
I think they care about media opinion, because that will ultimately sway public opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Leading to trying to control the media, which is why we have to be careful about what we say.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, that is one thing on YouTube. I joke that we're gonna we've mentioned COVID, so this video will probably be taken down, but it's actually not a joke, because I did a video about the vaccine that described how the vaccine worked. It described genuinely things that we shouldn't be worried about this vaccine, and I talked about things like the genetic coding and stuff like this, or the nanotechnology that's not true, and you know, and I did all this, and it still got took down. It said that this isn't genuine. This isn't. This is misleading. And I'm like, I put my little appeal in. It's not. It's not bloody misleading. It's true. It's just because I mentioned something and then I say that it's not true. Why have you took my video down?
I think if you Facebook,
you've only said it 3 times. None of us 3 have. We've been very well behaved. You've mentioned the C word, not us. But you've only done. You've only done it 3 times. All it takes is a little bleep sensor over that particular part of the audio,
exactly.
And you're good to go.
Yeah. You're good to go. That is the problem, isn't it? That now I've probably triggered, I think, and I've said disclosure. I've said the D word as well. So that means YouTube will not share this video anywhere.
I think you'd be right.
Take it down. Shut the video down.
I took my other one down. I got a warning, so I just took it down. And I'm like, oh God. But that's the thing, isn't it? We don't live in a world where you can even say the truth or even share opinion.
I don't know. I disagree with that, Jay. I totally disagree with that, actually, because you are allowed to tell the truth and you are allowed to have your opinion as long as it's theirs.
That's true. As long as their opinion and their truth.
It's your own opinion and your own truth you're not allowed to have, you know,
That is true, man. And that
it all seems to be looking towards a new world order then, doesn't it, really, from what we've just spoken about for the last 20 minutes?
Yeah.
End of the day.
Under the umbrella of the red, white and blue. Yeah, that's not the British red, white and blue.
Oh, I know.
Actually, no, there will be, because we're in bed with them. There's a reason why we happily invaded Iraq and happily invaded Afghanistan is because we're in bed.
We are there.
We could get called back up again anyway, so do you know what I mean? We're safe. It's fine. I've got my NBC suit as well, so
exactly. I'm too old. I'm too old for that, me, Steve. I won't go.
You'd be brought in as a trainer or something, daft like that. Staff. You'd just be staff.
I'll come back as a toilet cleaner. That's what I'll come back
as. There's
radio DJ.
Theory. Yeah, there you go. We can do the YouTube videos for the propaganda.
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. There's a conspiracy theory though that the British still rule the Americans secretly anyway. That it's our royal families and our thing that secretly.
That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Control it.
Oh
yeah.
I meant to read something out that Trevor had said before. He just said something there. The Malaysians held a high court and made Bush and Blair guilty, so they'd be locked up if they set foot in Malaysia.
Yeah.
They prosecuted for war crimes in their own country, made him guilty, and basically barred him from going. That's quite nice. I like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they did actually find him guilty.
I'd like to see him try, because I'm pretty sure the security forces that accompany them would allow that to happen, and the diplomatic connotations would make that completely okay. You know, in principle, a big pat on the back, nice one for that. But realistically, you know, behave.
I can imagine the Malaysian politicians going off, you know, to the judge that ruled that. I love it. What are you doing? You're just going to get us on the news.
Malaysia still using T-55s and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you'll get your ass slapped. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah. Well, we would just give them something. No, we would just say, okay, well, you're not. You know that money that we promised you, you're not having it. And
there you go.
There
you go.
You know that technology that you all those weapons that we sold you, we will just turn them off. Which is the beautiful thing about the Iraq War.
How do you know they've got weapons of mass destruction, Bill Hicks? Well, we checked the receipt.
Them.
Yeah, we checked the receipt.
There was a story about that where during the Iraq War, the first.
I like that.
Yeah. The first Iraq War, they We sold, the British sold the Iraqis a bunch of air defense systems, and the Americans sold them a bunch of air defense systems. So when we were flying in, we said, well, we're going to turn those air defense systems off because we're still connected and we've got back doors and we can just turn them off. And the Americans went, can you? They went, yeah, didn't you do that? No. Because, oh, brilliant. So now we've got to fly around the American air defense systems because you didn't think. This is what I mean. We've been fighting wars for hundreds of years. We know how to do it properly. And so we just flew in and turned their systems off. So I'm just imagining the Iraqis with their buttons, pressing the red button, going, "Why isn't this working?" And then the next one, the American system, going, "Mine's fine." It's oh yeah, a few American planes went down. I actually put that message up and didn't read it. But yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there was. Was it MH370 that just disappeared? That coincidentally had the what was it? The four of the 5 patents for a new patent that was going to make trillions, and the only remaining patentee was one of the Rothschilds family that was left after those 4 were killed on that MH370 flight. And there was that other one, wasn't there? Was the the one that was it MH17? Was it 17?
I think it was MH17. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so that is quite interesting. The chronology of that.
Oh, Damian, haven't you heard of coincidence? Oh no, wait, sorry, we don't do that. This keeps coming up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What am I thinking?
In that circumstance, it could just be a coincidence, but it's interesting. I'll look into it. I'd like to just dig a bit deeper.
I've tried to look into things like that though, and you can find stuff on YouTube that says these things are fact, but actually to try to get corroborate evidence, it's very hard to do. But then I always do start going that rabbit hole that goes, but yeah, it would be. Because the people that control newspapers and that I would consider credible sources don't want me to know that. So I have to find this information from places and I have to try to cross-check it, and it feels incredible, but then you think, but history is written by the winners. And there's lots of things in history that we don't know about because they don't want us to. We're always the good guys and the enemy is always the bad guy, because that's the way it's written when you've won the war. We're not going to invade Afghanistan and then go years later say, well, why did you do that? Revenge. We're not going to say that. We're going to say it was because of the Taliban.
We've got reality television shows making mainstream media news. You really trust they're telling you the truth? I don't.
Fox News isn't a news channel. Fox News is an entertainment channel.
Most of them are more entertainment now than they are news. No, they're
Personally,
not.
I think they all are, yeah.
Yeah. I think the BBC is closest, but even that's run by people. They're the closest to actually being a news thing. Pathé News.
Pathé News. That was the original one back in the day. That was the only one you could trust. That and your grandma leaning over the fence talking to the neighbours. Proper propaganda,
propaganda videos ever. Pathé News. Yeah. Governments will always use news, like they'll always use media, and I think the internet is just another tool for them. And that's going back to disclosure. And I was talking about the tactics that the Americans and I think we keep blaming the Americans. I don't actually think it's the American government that's even in control of this. I think it's an element of, or whoever's inside the American government that runs it that is to do with it. I actually believe that the American government, the American project or experiment was a private entity. I think it's the first privatized country on the planet.
I can kind of get behind that.
Yeah, I think a lot of wealthy families went over very early on in the American creation and went, "This is a good idea. If I build a railroad, I own that now." And that's how they did it. But I forgot where I was going with that.
Doesn't matter. You've done a good 2 hours, brother. Well done. You've piloted the ship for 120 minutes nearly.
I'm ready for bed now, man. I'm so tired. But no work tomorrow. Do you know that's the main reason why I wanted to do this, is because I've got no work tomorrow, so I can have a lie in.
4 days off.
So one last question before we go, guys, because it is April Fool's Day. Actually, is it still April Fool's Day? Yes.
Yeah.
Is this whole thing really them just treating us like fools again? Or do you think there actually is even any remote chance that elements of the American government, mainly Republicans it seems, are actually trying to get the truth out?
Well, I think Steve should probably answer this first, seeing as how he's gone out of his way to have a new hairstyle for this particular show. I That's a level of dedication we all should commend. So,
Is that his hair?
you thought he was wearing a helmet for a while, did you?
I assumed it was like a Lego piece.
I just need.
A third.
It's just lockdown there, isn't it?
Stevie baby. Mate, I'm just jealous you've got hair. So.
Me too, actually, Jay.
It's either one or two ways. It's either shave it all off or grow it, isn't it? It's one of the two. So
it is. Yeah. It is. Yeah, bloody earphones. Ow.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Can't remember. We started taking the piss out of you.
Yeah, that is what
Let's
happened.
just take the piss out of you a bit more. Yeah, no.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Fools, or are they actually? Do you think there's any chance?
Bit of both. Bit of both, truth? Probably. Bit of both. Yeah. There's going to be a little bits of truth, like we said earlier, little dribs and drabs that we already know, but nothing major. Nothing major, unless that's a big unless we do turn around and go, disclose it. But no, just round in circles.
So. Damian, what do you think, mate? Are they treating us like fools?
Well, they have been for 70 years, haven't they? Really, probably. So I don't think that agenda is going to change unless they've developed another agenda to replace it with, or maybe because the 50% of the population now don't believe their lies anymore. They've realised that the funding they've been putting into it isn't worthwhile anymore, and they're going to redirect the funds elsewhere. So they are just coming clean. I very much doubt that. That's my optimistic one.
Yeah, sure.
Realistically, we'll get another couple of corroboration of a couple of incidents that have occurred, maybe that they actually corroborate now, or something. There'll be some unredacted information that tells us about a few things, but not too many. I would imagine.
Yeah. Go on then, Dave.
For me, Jay, I think it isn't at a time yet where it suits their needs or purpose to do so. So I think we are going to be treated like fools. I think it's going to be the same old. And until they're ready and they need whatever outcome that they desire for it to be profitable, then we're going to be having these same conversations. Our children will be having these same conversations ad infinitum, ad continuum, round and around, like Steve said, like Damian alluded to. That's what I think.
I think there's a couple of things going on. I think they've wised up that they can't just talk rubbish. They've wised up that the best way to tell a lie is wrap it in a truth. And I think there's an element of that. They give us a little bit of truth. And this is why I think I keep talking about the things like the Tic Tac video are...
A truth sandwich.
Trap. Yeah, truth sandwich.
Truth sandwich.
I
like that. I like that.
You've done brilliantly today. You are sacked. But that thing you did with that customer earlier was fantastic. Well done. And I just tried to slip. But that's, but I do think they're doing that. They tell us a little bit of truth. Right. So the Tic Tac video, I don't see how that's man-made. So they release that. And then they tell us about the Salvador Pay patent. And that's just slipped out quietly. If you don't know what the Salvador Pay patent is, it is a patent for a triangular vehicle. They can apparently travel between air and water without changing speed or trajectory, uses anti-grav technology, and is patented by the US Navy. It makes no sense that they patented that vehicle. If you classify something and you make it secret, why would you then patent it and put it into the public domain? It makes no sense, unless it's all part of the plan, all part of the thinking. So you release this, you release a bit of truth, then you release a little bit of bull, and then you get the people to go exactly where you want them to go. And we're all just walking down the road going, oh, okay, yeah, it's just man-made, don't believe it. And as long as enough of the population think it's silly, the government are well away with it. They don't care. Yeah. So for me, are they treating us like fools? Yeah, and I think they'll continue to do it. Because they just know as long as enough people have got access to their internet and their 200 TV channels and Amazon deliver the next day, they don't care. And that's all
the thing, isn't it? It's not unknown for people to say any society is only 3 meals away from a revolution. Well, them times have changed. As long as people have got their internet coverage, as long as they can go on different social media, they can play the computer games, they've got a meal in the stomach.
Their own little bubble.
Yeah.
It won't matter.
Early on in lockdown, when the kids had to stay at home, some idiot cut through. Apparently, my town is fed. All of the internet is fed by one wire. Apparently, and some idiot cut through it. So we had no internet for 24 hours. My children become rabid animals.
There you go.
And they were like, "What are we going to do? Go out and play football?" No. Can I watch TV? No, because it's the internet, mate. So, oh my! It was honestly like they were going to kill each other. And I was like, by the end, within 12 hours, I was ready to kill them myself. And I was like,
I do love those memes that come up with like the 80s or the 90s kids, and it's like, look, there's a kid flying over a jump. Look, no helmet, no knee pads, elbow pads, nothing. Nowadays, they'll be wrapped up in a cotton wool inside a hamster ball with a helmet on, knee pads, elbow pads.
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you, I grew up in the 70s. We were happy to play with mud, brother.
Oh, back in my day.
I was happy with a stick. We used to go play army. We had where I lived. I lived on this little town. It's a bit of a rundown area now, but it had these two little hills on top, and we called it the Banks, right?
Yeah.
Because the place was called Cattley Bank, and then there are these two hills. So we were very clever. We called it the Banks. Genius. Every so often they would fence this off. The council would come and fence it all off, right? Because there used to be these little bell pit mines all up there. And they were saying every time they would come and stand in front of the class and go, "Please stop going to the Banks. You will die. Don't go up there." So obviously we were up there kicking the fences down the next day, going and playing army. And that's what we used to do. We used to go kick the fence down, use the fence as sticks to pretend
absolutely.
Or hit each other with them, and go and play in the mouse, hoping that one of us would fall in a hole and probably die. And say, well, obviously, if you fall down, I'm not going to help you out. And we look at
the days of common sense. Oh, there's a big hole there. Shall I step in it? Nope, I'll walk round it.
But the thing is, though, But the thing is, though, man, the kids today wouldn't be up there because they're all playing Fortnite.
So they wouldn't be there anymore. No,
exactly. So
I got
maybe if they're vlogging, maybe if they're like going to an old abandoned house and they're gonna video it for YouTube, they might.
Yeah,
that's the only time they go out now is when they're vlogging.
I saw a bunch of kids. It must have been about 25 kids or something riding their bikes between where I live and the next town over, sort of thing. And they were all doing wheelies. And I thought, what's that one kid doing? And he was filming it. He was doing a wheelie on the road, veering across the middle, right in front of me, sort of thing, filming it. I was like, "You're mad! You're psycho! What are you doing? You're gonna get killed!" And I was like, but he was genuinely at risk though, because he actually did veer in front of us. Like, I'm doing 60 down the road, and I'm like, "You idiot!" So I suppose the risks are different nowadays, I think. Just joining. What's the topic? Hard to explain. And we've been talking about disclosure, mate, but now we've been talking for 2 hours, so now we're just talking random.
We just literally very random topic. We're on to children's exploits today. Not really going out anymore. Staying in on computers, which is ironic because we're sat in on a computer recording
on a computer.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. We're not allowed to go out and talk to each other in the pub. If we were, we'd be in the pub talking shit. But instead, we're on this talking shit. So
I think that is a good point. There would have been a revolution without Wi-Fi through lockdown. I think you're probably not wrong.
I don't think we would have had a lockdown if it wasn't for the internet. I think we'd have just had to carry on going to work because the economic would have been a disaster. The economy would have tanked. So they'd have just had to have accepted 1 million people dead, and we just had to accept it. But,
which is what I suppose would have happened at any other point through the course of history, apart from in the last 50 years, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I honestly think in the last 10 years. Don't say the C word. Yeah, but
I've been very careful. I've been very careful not to.
None of us have.
Tell me.
It's only you. We've all referred to it as the pandemic or something. Or
I don't think you say the P word either. Actually, no.
Really?
But no.
But that's not even localized to a single event. It's doesn't matter.
I like the C word. My son used to have a YouTube channel, and he used the other C word by mistake, but he was down for kids, and the channel got took down the next day. He had like 2,000 subscribers, and we're making like £20 a week. And he said it's like, oh damn it. So come on, then, guys. What are you doing, Steve? What are you doing on your channel in the next week or so? What videos have you got lined up? What can you?
At the moment, just a couple of mudlarking videos. At the moment.
Well, explain what mudlarking is, because somebody actually did say they've had a look at your channel, and they're going to have a look at some of the mudlarking videos. And I've never heard of mudlarking.
Oh, cool.
The first
yeah, so
video
mudlarking, it's an ancient terminology for a group of people going into tips and things like that, and collecting the metal and then selling it on. But mudlarking today is it's like metal detecting, but without the metal detector. So you go to rivers.
Magnet.
No, that's magnet fishing. This is mudlarking.
Yeah. He uses the power of the force just to find things and lift them out of the water with his brain.
Basically,
YouTube
yeah,
videos,
that's
dude.
it. Yeah. Well, no. So
that was a video though. I'd watch it.
Yeah, that'd be mega cool. That.
Yeah, it would. So it's just finding, clay pipes, old coins, just anything that you can find that's been, dropped or, left behind. Like I got 2,000-year-old Roman pottery. I've got Neolithic stone beads. I've got all sorts of wonderful stuff. You probably can't see it on the shelf behind, but yeah, I got loads of stuff. And I've literally today just been chatting with my local museum about helping them on a couple of archaeological digs of a medieval leper hospital.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent.
so that's fantastic. Yeah,
that is
wicked with that.
And
yeah, but I do UFOs and ghosts. Well, hoping so with my trade name for Stranger Times. So yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be epic. Good, yeah. But I do UFOs, ghosts, all that sort of conspiracy stuff as well. So yeah, definitely.
How about you, Dave? What you got coming on?
Hoping to continue to insult people on YouTube.
That's always good.
The usual kind of
I'll
things.
Drop our links.
ITC sessions, and as times are changing and we're getting more of our freedom back, investigations at residential properties are coming up. More live stream chats about cryptozoology, spirituality, the paranormal, and ufology. I'm going to try and get this fella. I'm going to take him to the dark side, as it was, Jay. I'm going to drag him away from the lights in the sky, and get him into some other weirder stuff. But general chit chat, that kind of thing. But just pushing on, brother.
Hey, I'd also be very interested in seeing the dark side, but I might call bullshit and things because I
call whatever you want. Call whatever you want. I always say
I want to learn more about, because I don't believe in ghosts. I don't, but I'm open to the possibility. And Steve tells me stories about things he's seen, and I'm like, well, I believe you. I still need to get my head around it, but I would love to, have that knowledge to be able to have a more rounded opinion.
I think
that's my problem. There's too much
Absolutely.
stuff that's BS out there.
It's the same as ufology for me and cryptozoology. Absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. When it comes to any of these, you treat your mind like a parachute because it works best when it's open.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And like I said, we're saying there's some of the things that we know are possible, particularly when we talk about quantum mechanics, don't we? That some of this, when you understand some of the stuff that's possible in the world, you can't say anything's impossible, and I never would. Well, some things are impossible. It is impossible that the Earth is flat. Impossible. So, but I'm very limited. I'm not going to say much.
But you're still open to the possibility of mermaids, yeah?
Yeah, Damian. That was a short conversation. Mermaids true. No, they're not.
Brilliant. I love that. That's great.
That's in Splash.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the documentary was called now, but it definitely had me, like, whatever it was initially.
It wasn't on Animal Planet. It was on Discovery Channel. It was genuinely on it. They got fined like 100,000 quid for it.
It could have been absolutely bang on research material as far as Damian's concerned. Give him a break.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're too hard on Damian.
He is. He's a tough boss, as it were.
Yeah. We've actually got a new video going on in 20 minutes. It goes live in 20 minutes about JFK. And I've been doing a Bigfoot video, but it's just been what, JFK or Bigfoot?
All of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of it. Absolutely.
Big
Yeah.
my thing up here. Let's try and get
all of it.
It all exists.
I started doing like a Bigfoot video just because they try to put that law through in one of this, I can't remember what state it is now, about if you find a Bigfoot alive that you get like a $1.5 million bounty. It didn't actually go through in the end. It didn't actually make law, but it got some good headlines, and that's all they wanted, I think. But then I started looking at some YouTube videos, and I'm just going to sort of do a little thing like.
I've been doing a lot on myself on them, like the Yahweh and Ginesqua and obviously Sasquatch and the different so-called types, the type 1 Patty, the type 2 like Neanderthal, like I say, the Gugway and all the different kinds. I'm big into it myself.
We've just done a video on giants actually, and whether they could be true, because there's it's the Kandahar giant, didn't we? That'll be
the red-headed guy.
Red-headed spear.
With the 2 rows of teeth.
And 12 to 15
we were talking about that the other night.
I love that story. I just think that for, again, credible people, military personnel, credible people giving a testimony of an absolutely incredible event that they were made to write off as a standard engagement. It just. But
I made what actually sounded a bit like a Type 3 Bigfoot, because they talk about the third type that can be more human-like, 15-foot tall, blah, 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 blah. But I found a lot of nonsense YouTube videos, because, again, people fake crap. But then I found a couple that are really...
Anything with feet bigger than us?
Yeah. Well, they're like...
I'm just saying, like, is that what we... Because there could be... we are talking more than just one type, essentially,
Oh yeah, because the different around the world. I mean, in Australia, it's the Yahweh. You've got the Alma. You got the abominable snowman. You've got the Orang Pendek and Yeti. Yeah, there's so many different types. So it depends on whereabouts in the world you are. The
seems to be all over the world.
Like that. Yeah,
that same story. Say, at what point does a story? Do you have to start thinking that then there must be some truth to it? When it's worldwide, the same sort of things are being seen. This is the same with UFOs and disclosure again as well. Same sort of things are being seen by multiple sources, by multiple people. You find physical evidence. At what point do you go, well, okay, then this isn't just people making stuff up?
Well, this is the thing you see. This is the thing, Jay. They will admit They will admit certain species upon photographic evidence and other various stringent little bits of evidence, but they won't do it with Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Even if they might not have a skeleton of these creatures, they might not have absolute DNA, but they will still admit that they exist.
Yeah.
Or be willing to enter them into. Yeah, but apart from Yeti or especially Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That's my main problem, is that there's never been a skeleton. Although what we know about, we actually discussed that this way. We think there's probably, if things are found, there's systems to make sure that they go.
To make sure they're hidden. Yeah, like with the giant.
The thing is, though, how often do you find, a dead puma skeleton or a dead bear skeleton? You just don't, do you?
Well, they also say there's you just got to look at predation and decomposition of bones under certain geographical and
Has anyone seen the video on YouTube? Like I can't think what it's called or when I saw it, but it was how long a deer carcass will last in the wild.
Yeah.
And it's literally like 24 hours. Within sort of 3 days, it's gone.
Yeah, there's no evidence it was ever there. Yeah,
nothing. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
bones scattered as well. Yeah.
And also, I mean, we don't know that Bigfoot could be. We think it's quite intelligent. Maybe it buries its dead. And then there'd be even less evidence.
There are some people that I think that is the case. Actually, Jay,
maybe it doesn't.
We older ones, they get rid of them out of the society, as it were, rather than having to feed them, and they graze and they move from place to place, and that's why you won't find evidence of them in one location for any prolonged sense of time. And then there's other people that say, yes, they are always in the same place because they've captured multiple witnesses have seen the same thing at certain locations. So it's just the same as anything else, isn't it? Like you say, thousands of reports across the world, loads of people seeing it, loads of bits and bats of tantalizing evidence, and that suggests it's true. And the same with UFOs, but not with ghosts. I find that interesting, Jay. Got to be honest.
Okay.
That is the one thing you didn't include in that, you know?
Well, because I think the thing with this, for me, I think a lot of ghosts is possibly, and again, I don't want to talk down to anybody or dismiss anyone's beliefs or whatever it is you find, but I do think there's a lot to do with psychology, and I've said to you, Steve, before, I always loved a good ghost story, and it was ruined for me when I saw a documentary about, I forget his name, it's Davidson or something. And he was doing experiments with a magnetic echo chamber, and he says by distorting the magnetic field a certain way, I can make the people inside the chamber think different things. I can make them think that they're being watched.
Oh, absolutely.
I can make people think that there's something in there with them and things. And then when you think about a lot of ghost sightings are at places that are built from like big limestone, old, large stones and things that is magnetic. Affects magnetic fields. You then throw in psychology, dark shadows, and people running around going, "Oh, I think I saw something." That I think that's possibly a lot of what the ghost sightings are. But I also think with UFOs that 95% of UFOs are either misidentified or fake. It's the 5% that are left that we should be interested by. Maybe it's a similar thing with ghosts.
Probably the same with ghosts and with Bigfoot sightings as well.
Yeah. That's my take on it, Damian. That's my mindset is the vast majority of it can be discarded, but there's that percentage that's worth paying attention to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Just a quick one. How do we know that Bigfoots don't live on this planet as well? They could be interdimensional. That's another theory.
That's one theory for a lot of them. Yeah.
Because of structures that are built, because of weaving. They can do weaving depending upon the type of hominid that you're discussing. Some of them are capable of allegedly building crude weapons and traps and stuff like that. Like I say, like the Janisquas and stuff like that. So it depends upon which way you go in different parts of the world. I mean, in the American soldiers were attacked by small ape men, the Ngoi Lungwi or something like that, I believe. They forget totally off the top of my head. In Cambodia, when they were raided by the Montagnards during the Vietnam War, were attacked by ape men that were carrying crude weapons, and these weren't the big kind of hominids that people describe as being 8 to 10 feet and that kind of things. They were 5 to 6 feet, but they were hairy men. It's like the descriptions of EBEs, the descriptions of Fae or the Darway, the descriptions of all other things seem to match cultural belief systems, and you've got to be wary of that too, because they can be so disparate around the world. I like to think that surely a grey, and this is a broad sweeping statement I'm making now, and I'm generalizing, but surely a grey should look like a grey no matter where you are in the world if you see one.
Yeah, I get that.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Maul's just made an interesting point there about interdimensional things, and we was talking about vibration and stuff like this, and how everything is to do with vibration, and matter is based in matter's a form of vibration. Do you think that some people are just more in tune with this than others? Because I actually think
definitely
humans are like I think we can detect magnetic fields. I don't think we're particularly aware of it, but I think we can. I think that's how you know sometimes when somebody's behind you. Maybe you hear them, or maybe something like that. But I also think that maybe you can feel that thing. And I think your moods affect how you feel. You can just walk in and you just know somebody's pissed off. I do wonder if that's maybe because maybe your aura changes when you're ratty, and and we can sort of but we're not really aware of it. So maybe some people are just more aware of it than others.
Like sixth sense sort of thing, isn't it?
I think you're sort of like halfway to describing spiritualists or mediums there more than a sixth sense kind of thing, because I think that there's a lot of people that would like propagate the theory that everybody's capable of doing it, or we are as a species. It's just been bred out of us as a necessity to be able to do it, as we've depended more upon a social and civilized structuring rather than a naturalistic, almost animalistic instinct. And as we become more evolved, we've actually gone further backwards because of it when it comes to spirituality and our ability to be in tune with the environment, which would also lead into some people's theories about Bigfoot and Sasquatch, that they're more not elemental beings as such, but more in tune with nature. And because of that, are more able to blend in with nature, make it more difficult for people to see them. But there's lots of animals in the real world. I'm not just talking about hominids or any of the great apes or anything, but that could be difficult to see. If you're not looking for them, you're not going to see them.
Well, exactly. I think there are probably some hominid species that have survived to the present day. If you go back a few 100,000 years, there were several different hominid species that were coexisting at the same time. You know, from what was it? Neanderthals, then you got the Denisovans from Siberia, haven't you?
Denisovans,
you know, some fascinating stuff coming from those the Denisovan caves, isn't there? What jewelry that dates back 40, 60,000 years that the Denisovans were making way back then. You've got that Homo florensis as well on the in Asia as well, the hobbit species with the 3-4 foot human that they found fossil evidence of. But there are quite a lot of videos surfacing where people have supposedly seen them in today or very recently in recent years that have been posted online, and some of them do look quite convincing, those videos. So I do think that the possibility of another hominid species surviving, particularly with how aggressive we have been at destroying a lot of other species and their environments. We pushed them into these really remote areas where humans really aren't present, so they're in areas where they barely bump into us. So is it quite likely they could be there still?
And as a result, because of that push into their areas of habitat, we're becoming more and more into contact with them, you know, as a direct result of that.
We're wiping nature out quite effectively, very quickly as well. So I always wonder there whether you then start thinking about the pineal gland and how we're calcifying it.
I was just thinking
that's cutting us off from these natural abilities or this natural connection that we should have. I do wonder about that as well, guys.
So
it has been almost emotional. I'm gonna no, shut up, Damian. Stop.
I was gonna say it's almost like they've programmed our diet and our television to keep us entertained so that we don't question things. But anyway,
what did I just say?
Going
Yes, it is exactly. But that's all the topic. Maybe next time. So thank you guys. Really has been brilliant as always.
That was awesome.
Oh, by the way, disclosure. No, we don't think that's
no.
We could have actually, instead of 2 hours and 27 minutes, we could have just gone. It's not happening. That's June 1st. I wouldn't get too excited.
Yeah.
But thank you again, guys. It's been brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Jay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. As usual.
But it is. Can you all do these more often? I truly feel I found 4 new mates tonight and chat people. Mole.
Awesome.
You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mo. Yeah, that
see you again.
Really nice comment.
Thank you.
We will be doing it a little bit more often because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
so,
we should.
Good night, guys. Go get some sleep.
Yeah,
see you later.
Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye, chat.
Oh,
see you later, guys.
Aliens.
Aliens. See you later.